Wrestling Omicas brings you a full-course meal of all of Japanese wrestling, men's and women's. Join me, a Japanese wrestling fan for over 20 years, along with a rotating cast of equally knowledgeable co-hosts as we cover everything from New Japan and Stardom to Noah, All Japan, DDT, Tokyo Joshi, Mari Gold, Sendai Girls, Dragon Gate, GLEAT, Ice Ribbon, and even more stuff. If you're a fan of Japanese wrestling and you want coverage of the entire scene in one podcast, check us out right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network each and every week. Get us wherever you get podcasts today.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Very, 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 Mickey, 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 Fishy, Fishy!
And we are live on the Flagship podcast. I am Rich, and he is Joe, and there is no better way to start this episode of the Flagship podcast than the iconic theme music from the Midnight Express, as we are going to talk about the life and career of Dennis Condrey, who passed away just 6 days ago at age 76. So gotta play all-time great theme song, all-time great song. And then just an unbelievable theme song, and obviously lives on today with FTR's AEW theme, which is basic, just a complete ripoff of that song, which is fine. It's a great song.
It's an homage.
An homage, a very nice homage.
I would not say ripoff. I would say homage.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It's not. It doesn't try to be the same thing, but
they're not hiding it. That it's
no.
You know, so
I meant ripoff complimentary. Ripoff parentheses complimentary.
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking about this after Dennis Condrey passed away, and I knew that we would have to do the requisite obituary, which we love to do, but we also don't want to do, right? It's always these weird feelings like you don't want any of these people to pass away. Certainly in the manner that Dennis Condrey passed away, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But we love doing these shows, and the listeners love them. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and you could help me think this through, when Bobby Eaton passed away, we started the show exactly the same with that exact song. That
did I? I don't even remember doing that, but I probably did. Yeah,
we did. Not only that, I'm almost positive. If you could look up the date that Bobby Eaton died very quickly, producer.
I gotcha. Yeah.
I'm almost positive that when we opened the show with the Bobby Eaton obituary on the week of
August 4th, 2021.
So that would be almost 5 years ago at this point. I think that was the first full-scale, what has become known as the flagship obituary that we ever did. I know that we talked about people who passed away prior to that and maybe did versions of what we do today. But I think we really dove in deep and did the first what has become known as our sort of trademark obituary. I think it was for Bobby Eaton. And I think prior to that, for whatever reason, we didn't have the confidence to do those kinds of shows. And it was silly, but we just didn't. And while we talked about other people who passed away, we never, I think
talk about the life
beginning with Bobby Eaton is when we decided, okay, when these big names in wrestling die, we're going to talk about them, whether it takes 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, or in the case of Sabu, the entire fucking show.
Yeah.
We're just going to do it, however long it takes. And we're going to talk about these careers of these men. I don't think there's been a woman yet, oddly enough, that have, in some cases, given years off their life to entertain us. And I think Bobby Eaton was the first one.
That timeline does make sense, and I think one of the big reasons why, and I'm trying to double check this, and that's why some people in the listening live may have heard a brief blip right there, as I'm trying to figure out exactly when we first started these. And I think you're right, and I think one of the big reasons why we did Bobby Eaton and why we felt confident enough doing Bobby Eaton is, and I was trying to match up the timelines, I think we had just recently had done the Midnight Express versus the original Midnight Express deep dive. Not that long after that. So I think it was like we were fully entrenched in all things Midnights and all things Bobby Eaton, and then he had passed away not that long after. I'm trying to double check and see if that timeline's right.
On top of a career that we were very familiar with, we also just studied it.
Yes. And that's what I'm trying to figure out if that timeline, because in my head, that's kind of what I think is why we finally had the confidence to just say, you know what, let's just roll it out. I mean, we know everything we can possibly know about Bobby Eaton and the Midnights.
All right, I got to cut you off. No, the deep dive was on September 14th, 2022.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So we just had the confidence in Bobby Eaton, I guess, to know that we.
I think prior to Bobby Eaton, the lack of confidence came from, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have every single fact correct and not screw anything up. And while it's important to have facts correct, especially when you're eulogizing somebody, I think that our audience, as much as getting the timelines right and having the facts correct, they also, what they like about when we do this is just our opinions and our takes on the wrestlers and just what we thought of these people as fans. And it's if we screw up if we make a minor mistake on a date or a title change or when somebody jumped to a certain territory, it's not that big a deal. And I think that we thought previously, oh man, if we screw something up, people are gonna be mad at us, and that's not the case. It's we could always look things up on the fly, and I think it's more important just to have the conversation about someone's career rather than worry about, was that title change in 1985 or was it in 1986? It's not that big a deal. We could always correct ourselves a few moments later, and we always do. And without that pressure, I think we've been much more comfortable just doing these.
Yeah, and I think the idea that I always try to come across with, and it's a big reason why there's been certain people that have passed away, and everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are going to do an obituary," and I'm like, I don't know, and I'll like talk to you about it. And there's certain people we don't. I mean, it's not every wrestler that passes away we're going to do one of these obituaries for, because there's a lot of wrestlers that I don't really have that much to say about them, or I'm not passionate. And I think that is the key: is we can get a fact or two wrong, we can get a title change wrong, or we can get a what day or what year somebody switched territories or whatever. We can get that wrong, as long as we have passion about the person we're talking about, and passion and real, like, you know, whatever. Yeah, just having that sort of the knowledge base, the baseline knowledge, and then the passion is, I think, the combination that we need to really hit on these. And it's okay if some of that knowledge is you know, not perfect, and as long as the passion is there. And that's where I think everybody that we have done one of these long form you know, obituaries for has kind of fit that mold. And someone like an Antonio Inoki, I remember when he passed away, people were like, "Oh man, you guys are going to lay out a lot for Antonio Inoki." And I remember telling people, like, I wouldn't really expect that. And then you ended up not even being there for that show.
I was off that week. I don't know what it was for, but I wasn't even on the show that week, and it was planned ahead of time. But that's a pretty good example, because I was never really a fan of Inoki, and I mean, you have to have something to say, and there also has to be, look, I also wouldn't do one if I knew next to nothing. I mean, we've skipped ones where we both were like, "Hey, do you know anything about this guy?" And it's like, "Nope." Well, I don't either. So if it's just going to be, if 90% of this is going to be based on crash research, who wants to listen to that? Do you know what I mean? Like, anyone could do that.
Yeah, you don't want to hear us read a Wikipedia entry and go, "Oh, hey, Joe, in 1977, he did this." It's like, yeah, that's terrible.
So yeah, and you know, you're always gonna have holes. You're always gonna have you know, dark spots in what you know. And if it's not someone I'm super familiar with, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah. You guys, I'm sure, would rather listen to somebody who's familiar with the subject. But yeah, it's you know, someone saying we did Bundy. I do recall doing King Kong Bundy. That's true. So I don't know when he died.
Let me see when the Bundy show would have been.
We did a pretty substantial one for him too. The other one, too, that everybody seemed to really love was Paul Orndorff, and he died on July 12th, 2021.
Maybe that was it then.
That was before Eaton?
What did I say Eaton was? You just said, what was Orndorff?
Orndorff was July 12th, 2021.
It would have been a month before the Bobby Eaton one.
Okay, so, well, Orndorff was definitely in the mold of what we do now.
Yes. So sorry, Bobby 100%. Eaton. You're not special, kid. We did it for... I don't remember Bundy. I remember talking about King Kong Bundy, but I don't remember necessarily having a very long... I'm trying to look for that one right now.
It was 2019.
Okay.
We definitely did a segment on Bundy. There's no
I just I know what you're saying. Like, the spiritual beginning of this thing that we're talking about here is a little different.
Yeah. I mean, we've done segments on a lot of people, but I mean, the we're going to open the show, and you know, if there's no time for New Japan Cup, tough shit. That style, I think, started, I guess, with Orndorff then, not with Eaton. Because Orndorff has...
Because I do remember that Orndorff one being real long and real detailed. Yeah. So that's probably the one that started. And then maybe we got our sea legs under us, and then Eaton. I do recall there was like and I have to look at it exactly. I feel like there was a bunch right in a row. I feel like we were doing one of these shows. God, it was
so many. I mean,
for like five out of the last 8 weeks or whatever, we were doing these kind of shows for guys.
I remember Kamala. I remember Black Bart. I remember just been.
I remember Lanny Poffo, another one pretty recently, or a couple years ago that we did.
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty, but Dennis Condrey is definitely, just like Bobby Eaton. It'd be very similar, not only because their careers are so intertwined for, you know, in very obvious ways, but you're dealing with two very similar wrestlers in from the standpoint of, they're both in the conversation for the greatest tag team wrestler to ever step in a ring. I don't know where someone would fall if you were ranking people, who else you would include. But both Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey would have to be considered two of the greatest tag team workers of all time, without question, even outside of the tag team that they had with each other. You know, when you look at Bobby Eaton, obviously he had the tag team with Stan Lane. He had the tag team with Coco Ware, who's that's gonna come up in the conversation we're about to have, and then Dennis Condrey with the various versions of the Midnight Express, and then his teams in the 70s.
Right.
With
Phil Hickerson.
Phil Hickerson and Dr. D, David Schultz, and all that before the Midnight Express was even, a thought. He was already, and I guess we're starting there. I mean, that's the beginning of his career. But Dennis Condrey had a whole ass career in the 1970s before the Midnight Express was even formed in 1980. Like you mentioned with Hickerson and David Schultz. Don Carson was another person he teamed with in that pre-Midnight Express era. And when he was bouncing back and forth, primarily with Hickerson in those days, the Bicentennial Kings.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They were working for Goulas before the split, and then the Jarrett split happens, and they bounce back and forth from working with Goulas to working with Jarrett, and then going over to Knoxville to work Southeastern, which would later become Continental, where Condrey would work a lot in the ensuing years, which gets confused. This always gets confusing because there's Southeastern, which became Continental later, and then there's the Memphis territory that most people are familiar with, which was called Continental Wrestling Association
Right.
for a long time. So, we'll try to keep it straight as best we can. But really in those years in the 70s, once he became a top guy, and it didn't take him long. I mean, by 1975 or so, this was a legitimate main event wrestler because these were tag team territories,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the big tag teams were working on top, and he was working on top with Phil Hickerson. And I know some people, when they think of Phil Hickerson, they think of late career Phil Hickerson when he was doing the PY Chuhai fake Japanese.
Oh, God.
gimmick.
I always forget that that's him.
Different time. Don't judge.
Can't do that anymore.
The fake Japanese doing like the Japanese stereotypes, managed
PY
by
Chuya, yeah.
managed by Tojo Yamamoto, and I guess that makes it okay because Tojo. Wait, is Tojo a Hawaiian Japanese?
I believe he is. I believe
he
he is a Hawaiian Japanese. Let me clarify. Indeed, he is a Hawaiian Japanese man. So
none of it was okay. None of it was okay.
Well, no, probably not. No.
If he was at least endorsed and managed by an authentic Japanese man, then maybe you could say, all right, well, the Japanese guy doesn't care. But no, this is one of those fake Hawaiian Japanese guys. But yeah, so not that, this was Phil Hickerson in his prime. This was Phil Hickerson. And there is some Phil Hickerson, Dennis Condrey footage out there.
I was going to ask. I haven't seen a whole lot of it, and that's a huge blind spot for me. But is it a blind spot for everybody, or because
I mean, if you just punch it into YouTube, you get 2 or 3 matches. I mean, you're not getting 50 results, and that's just YouTube. Of course, if you scrape deeper into the internet, I'm sure you can find some more. But just a basic search of YouTube, if you do it right now, you're going to get clips. You're going to get a match or two of Hickerson and Condrey. And are you doing that?
I'm doing it right now. Yeah, okay. I don't know if you hear my clicking going on right now. Yeah, it's Dennis Condrey and Phil Hickerson versus Dombrowski. Joe Dombrowski. Thank you, brother. Almost all comes from him. So Joe Dombrowski's Pro Wrestling Library is where
that Joe Dombrowski.
Yeah, that one. And there's also the aforementioned Tojo Yamamoto. It's Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey. The Wrestling Channel as well. Bill Dundee and Tojo Yamamoto. I'm watching that. With Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey. So yeah, there's a little bit. There's a little bit there.
There's a little bit. There's enough to get a feel, I think, is the point, without having to dig super deep and hit up your sketchy friends for their Google Drives and whatnot. But which I'm sure there's more out there of those guys, because there's a lot of tape of the places that they were at. Because again, they would bounce back and forth between, Jarrett, Goulas. They'd go to Knoxville and work for the Fullers. And they would stay fresh. I mean, they never stayed anywhere longer than, 6 months to a year, even if that. And that's just how it was then. And we talk about that all the time, how it's so beneficial to just stay fresh and not burn out in front of an audience. And then you always have the comeback ready. Like, you come back to the territory you left 6 months earlier and you feel fresh again. And you can do new things with whoever's in the territory at that time. And Hickerson left wrestling for about a half a decade. He had some kind of injury. I don't remember what it was. And, that's when Condrey was teaming with guys like David Schultz and he had other partners then too. I'm trying to think, like Don Carson, he teamed with briefly. Mm-hmm. The David Schultz team, they were sent up to the Maritimes at one point And I don't know how much you know David Schultz is like a complete lunatic, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So David Schultz is like a very unstable and was always someone who
almost always unstable. Yeah.
Basically, the best way I could describe how people describe David Schultz was like if Gabe Kidd was for real. Like that's like David
Gabe
Schultz.
Kidd who never turns off the Gabe Kiddness.
Right. But he's like Gabe Kidd, but it's not a gimmick. Like that was David Schultz. I still don't know if when he shot the ceiling on Tuesday Night Titans and Vince McMahon goes nuts, I still don't know if that's true.
Man, I don't know. Vince is either a very good actor or I don't know. But
you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch.
That wasn't really McMahon's voice at that time. You know what I mean? Like,
no, he had never done that before.
Yeah,
and
we're not talking about this. Isn't like Attitude Era Vince McMahon. This is like, welcome to World Wrestling Federation. I'm Vince McMahon. Like very buttoned up and very basic. Very monotone at times. Vince McMahon. And yeah, they're doing a Tuesday Night Titans, and Schultz has a gun, and he shoots the ceiling, and Vince just goes, "What are you doing, you son of a bitch?" And it's just like, whoa. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I still don't know. I
don't think so. I feel like that had to be a shoot, because that is not like that Vince of that era to do that.
No, that wasn't him at all. Like, you never heard him lose his cool like that or anything. But to finish my story, they got sent up from whoever they were working for, sent them up to the Maritimes for one of them summer tours. And within a week, Schultz gets in a fight. And they got to like skip off in the middle of the night to the airport to fly back to fucking Knoxville or wherever the fuck it was that they were, based in with whatever talent trade was going on. So could you imagine Dennis Condrey and David Schultz getting in bar fights with fans in the Maritimes?
Yes, I can.
Like the summer of '79. Like that is just the absolute grimiest shit. And
Dennis Condrey, who at that time looked like he was 47 years old, even though he was 28.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because the thing about Dennis Condrey and the fact that no matter, when he was 26, he looked 50, is he always had the beard or the goatee. He always had the facial hair. And the reason that he did that, oddly enough, ironically enough, is because he was always a heel. Okay? And without the facial hair, he had big cheeks. He had a baby face. He didn't look like a heel unless he had the facial hair. So that's why he wore a beard all of those years, because he was afraid that he didn't look ferocious or tough enough without the facial hair, which, was a trick that a lot of guys used back then and even today. But it's funny because in not wanting to look less like in not wanting to look younger than he really was because of his babyface features and his chubby cheeks and everything, he ended up looking twice as old as he really was.
Yeah.
It worked in the other direction. And the fact that he didn't have any kind of chiseled physique and he kind of had a dad bod. Now, listen, there are points in his career later on where he got a little out of shape. But in his prime, I wouldn't say he was out of shape, but he didn't have a gym body.
No, but those guys at that time really didn't. I mean, if you don't watch a lot of old territories, that's not what like tough guys looked like. Like I talked about this when I was doing Tour of the Territories and talking about Mid-South, and like Bob Sweetan was the guy I kept bringing up. Now, Bob Sweetan, you wouldn't consider that man in shape, right? Because he's like got a big barrel chest and he's kind of chubby or whatever. Yeah. But in the late 70s and the early 80s, like that's what a tough guy looked like. A tough guy wasn't a guy who looked like Batista, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a guy who had like a chiseled physique and all that stuff. A tough guy was a guy who looked like he got done with his day labor job and went to a bar and fought you. You're like, that's the kind of guy you're not going to want to meet in a bar fight, is that big barrel-chested guy who's seen some shit, who's got thick-ass forearms and thick barrel chest, and that is like the idea of what a tough guy looked like. And now Vince McMahon kind of put that whole thing on its, flipped it on its head, and in the WWF, a tough guy and a big guy was like, chiseled out of granite, Hulk Hogan. But that's really not, especially, if you go watch like strongman competitions of those years, or arm wrestling competitions, or anything with like strength in the late 70s and early 80s, they're guys that look like that. They're not guys that have abs and chiseled, toned physiques. They're guys with big chests and big forearms and just like your uncle, like your strong uncle. That's kind of the vibe that most of the, that's what the territories wanted to present as like the tough guys. That's what the tough guys looked like. It wasn't the dudes that had gigantic biceps or whatever. So, and that kind of changed, by the mid '80s and the advent of steroids or whatever, and WWF, becoming as popular as it did. Like that's then what became like the de facto look for. Oh, that guy's a tough guy. Or that guy's strong. Look at him. He looks like the warlord or whatever. And yeah, really, like 1982, it's like Junkyard Dog and Bob Sweetan and those guys that look like that. That's kind of what the tough guys of the era looked like.
The thing with Dennis Condrey is he's a big guy. When you go back and watch this shit, he's almost always the biggest guy in the ring.
Yeah, I'm watching this match here with him and Hickerson versus, let's see, it is Kevin Sullivan. I don't know if it's that Kevin Sullivan. I can't really tell.
It is.
Oh, it is that Kevin Sullivan and Ted Allen. And Hickerson and Condre, oh my God, they look like monsters. It looks like Big John Studd and Andre the Giant in the ring there.
Now, to be fair, Kevin Sullivan's like 5'6".
Right. But like again,
but look at Condre. He's a big guy.
Big guy, wide shoulders, big body. Like always had a big. Like I think he was listed at 6 or 6'1" or whatever, but always was about 250, 255, 270, somewhere in that range. So he's a big, thick guy.
Yeah. Big, like, wide back, a big person. If he walked into a bar with normal people, he'd almost always be the biggest guy at 6'1", 250, 260 or whatever. And especially, in those southern territories where there were a lot of little guys. There were a lot of smaller guys in the territories that he worked. So that kind of enhanced his size as well. Bobby Eaton was deceptively large. Mm-hmm. That's something that we talked about a lot before, where he was a deceptively tall guy and thick guy. But Condrey he had a solid build. He just, a guy who looked like someone you wouldn't want to fuck with. And so anyway, he had a whole career from basically the mid 70s on, where he was a main event dude, bouncing from Southern Territory to Southern Territory until he lands in Southeastern again in 1980. And that's where he hooks up with Randy Rose for the first time. And they are feuding with, obviously, the Armstrongs and a very young Brad Armstrong and the Masked Shadow. And they're exchanging the tag team titles, and then they do an angle where the Shadow unmasks as Norvell Austin and turns on Brad Armstrong, joining Condrey and Randy Rose, and then they dubbed themselves the Midnight Express, which Condrey always claimed was not directly after the movie of the same name. It was more because they all liked sports cars and they liked drinking, late into the night. And so they were legitimate friends who liked to party together, the three of them. And they just called themselves the Midnight Express. So that's where the genesis of the team and the name came from in 1980 in Southeastern. And you mentioned the deep dive we did a few years ago, where the deep dive is actually the Midnight Express versus the original Midnight Express feud from NWA television at the end of 1987 and the start of 1988. But we go into the history and the formation of the Midnight Express. And if you weren't subscribed then, or you want to listen to it again, or didn't even know that we did it, it's right there under the deep dive tag, or just search those keywords. And we go deep into all of this history, probably a lot of the ground we're going to cover here, but
I'll try to put it in the show notes too. If I forget, I apologize, but I will try to put it in the show notes, because I think if you like this discussion and want to learn even more about the Midnights, because we went real deep into the entire history of the Midnight Express tag team and stable, really, and then that feud, and we're going to talk about a lot of it there, but we talked about the matches too, and really got we got deep into it. It's called the deep dive, but I really recommend listening to that if you enjoy this discussion we're about to have.
Yeah, so that threesome bounced back and forth between Southeastern and Memphis, the same territories that he was bouncing back and forth with Hickerson from basically 80 to 83 until late 83, when Condrey heads off to Mid-South. Actually, I don't want to skip too far ahead. There was a point in 83 where Condrey and Norvell Austin went to Memphis, but Randy Rose stayed behind in Southeastern, and Rose then took on Honky Tonk Wayne Ferris and Ron Starr as his new partners in the Midnight Express. So you had the Midnight Express still going on in Southeastern, built around Randy Rose, Wayne Ferris, and Ron Starr. And then you had Dennis Condrey and Norvell Austin, who at that time were in Memphis as part of the first family with Jimmy Hart for a brief period of time there. There was almost two versions of the Midnight Express in those two neighboring territories.
Yeah.
But
it's really wild, that they're running like concurrently with each other. This other, the Midnight Express running at the exact same time.
But that version, the Randy Rose, Wayne Ferris, Ron Starr version, was short-lived. It only was a few months. Although we did manage to dig up some promos and stuff for the deep dive, which were incredible to watch. If you've never seen Wayne Ferris full-on WWE honky tonk man when he was doing the primitive version of the gimmick, where he was still essentially doing an Elvis impersonation, but as more of a tough guy and less of a chicken shit heel.
Yeah,
it was more like he had the mutton chops, and he was clearly patterned after an Elvis or remember Chikara had a guy doing that gimmick towards the end. The hell was that guy's name who was doing like the mutton chop 50s?
What the hell was that dude's name?
Remember they had one?
Yeah.
It was played for Chikara Comedy, obviously, but I can't remember what that guy's name was. If the Swink's in the chat, he surely knows. But but that version of, Honky Tonk Ferris or Wayne Ferris, a very different, like dangerous feeling version of what would later become the chicken shit heel you would see when he was, the full blown honky tonk man.
Right. The one that took a powder in every single title defense for,
which
months
was
straight.
Great in its own way too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great gimmick in its own way too.
To hell with it. Just throw
his hands and just leave.
And just go back.
Take the count out, grab that title belt.
I love it. Yeah, it's good.
Grab Peggy Sue and get the fuck out of there, So anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so what happened was they only lasted a few months, and they lost a loser leave town. I think it was a 6-man cage match probably against the fucking Armstrongs. I'm not looking at it right now, and I don't quite remember. And so Ferris and Starr went back to Calgary, where they were the Memphis Mafia. And not long after that is when Ferris got the call from the WWF, and he brought that routine to the McMahon territory in 1986, and the rest is history. But just a few years before that, he was technically a member of the Midnight Express. The way, I don't know how you see it. The way I see it is if Dennis Condrey, Randy Rose, or Bobby Eaton are involved, it's a genuine version of the Midnight Express.
Correct. I agree. Yeah, particularly the first two. If Randy Rose and Condre are involved, it's the Midnight Express. And when you add Eaton to that, of course. But if Randy Rose and Condre is involved, it's true. It works.
If any one of those three guys are in any kind of tag team or stable and they're calling themselves the Midnight Express, that's the Midnight Express to me. Now, when you start getting into Bodacious Bart and
fuck off with that shit can go. Bob Holly and that shit's no. that does not count. Yeah, Bart Gunn and Bob Holly does not count as the Midnight Express.
Yeah, but if one of those three guys is involved, then that to me is an authentic version.
People might say that if Cornette's involved, but I don't. I think
it predated Cornette.
Exactly.
You don't have to have Cornette,
right? I'm 100% with you. It does not have to have Cornette, but it has to have Condrey, Rose, or Eaton involved.
Because as we just laid out, Cornette was involved with a combination that I don't consider real Midnight Express when they with Bob Holly and Bart Gunn. Cornette was involved with that, and that's not real. He would even tell you that. Cornette would say that wasn't really the Midnight Express. So I wouldn't include Cornette in that. To me, it's Condrey, Rose, and Eaton. One of those has to be involved. So to me, that Randy Rose, Wayne Ferris, Ron Starr version was an authentic version of the Midnight Express. How can you say it's not if Randy Rose, who originated the fucking team, that's who he chose as his guys? So at any rate, that was it really for Rose for the next 8 years in the gimmick. And then it was, or in the team, because as we said, Condrey he left for Mid-South in 1983. And then we had the infamous trade between Watts and Jarrett between Mid-South and Memphis. And Bobby Eaton was part of that trade with Jim Cornette going from Memphis to Mid-South. And a bunch of wrestlers went from Mid-South to Memphis. Jim Neidhart, Rick Rude. There were you'll hear different versions of that talent trade.
Yeah, if you go listen to the Tour of the Territories, right? Because we actually watched that episode. The episode where the new Midnight Express debuted is actually an episode that we watched. So I went through and I tried to get as many people in the trade as possible and trying to see if I could find my notes from that episode, because there different versions of it exist or whatever. But yeah, essentially like the big names going from Mid-South to Memphis were like Neidhart and Rick Rude were the big names that went there. And the ones that went from Memphis to Mid-South, I mean, holy shit. A very one-sided trade, if you ask me, because they got a hell of a lot of talent coming on over from Memphis to Mid-South, because that's when you get Eaton, you get the Rock and Rolls. Coco Ware came over as well for a bit. It was Bill Dundee, Cornette. Bill Dundee came over as a booker, and it is night and fucking day between the TV that Dundee was booking with those guys and what was happening in Mid-South before that. Because I watched a lot of Mid-South last year for Tour of the Territories, and a lot of it was like, I don't know, this is okay, but I'm not really vibing with it. And then I watched this November '83 episode with these guys and Coco and Bill Dundee, running the show, and it was like, whoa, this is a night and day difference between this territory. What's happened once this talent influx that they had, and then also the booking influx of Dundee.
So that infamous talent trade was the genesis of that infamous story where Jerry Jarrett went down to Mid-South to look around and scout and decide how they were going to construct this trade.
Right. And Bill Watts asked them to come down. For people that don't know the history of this, Bill Watts, the territory was starting to, peter out a little bit, and Bill said,
Watts
hey, you guys
was looking for fresh ideas.
Right. What a novel idea. Call somebody else and say, hey, look, business is down a little bit. I need to find a new idea, a fresh idea. So he calls, the guys from Memphis, and Jerry Jarrett and Bill Dundee come by, and he says, hey, what can I do to freshen this thing up? And now you can take it from here.
Yeah, so they're in the locker room or whatever, and Jarrett's checking out the wares. He's like, oh, this Jim Neidhart looks like a brick shithead. This Rick Rude might be able to do something for me. And he turns to Watts and he says, "Where's the blowjobs?" And Bill Watts is taken aback by this, and he's like, "Well, listen, pal, if that's what you're looking for, you got to handle that on your own. I don't help out with that sort of thing." And Jarrett was like, oh, no. That's a term we use in Memphis. It's a slang term for where's your young, good-looking baby faces. We call them blowjobs because it brings the women to the building. Again, different time, don't judge.
Right.
He just was casually using the wrestling lingo that they used in Tennessee that Bill Watts had never heard before. And Bill Watts took it as, this guy wants me to fucking get him prostitutes or something, and I'm not down with that, But then when that all got worked out and the misunderstanding was untied, that's where Jarrett had the idea of, hey, I've got this guy Bobby Eaton, and I've got these other, you don't have like good-looking young junior heavyweights. Like, I could send you some of that, and you can send me what I don't have. These big guys like Jim Neidhart and Rick Rude, and that we can fill, the market inefficiency in each of our territories and help each other out that way. And because Bill Watts notoriously loved bigger wrestlers. He loved the heavyweights. He that was his thing, and he kind of had a blind spot for the smaller guys. So anyway, Condre's already there, and he's just working as a single or whatever the fuck. And Eaton and Cornette come down, and Watts puts them together. He says, I'm going to put you guys together as a package, and you guys got to come up with a name. And Eaton and Cornette didn't really have any ideas, but Dennis Condrey, who was fresh off of working as a member of the Midnight Express for the last 3 years, he goes, I don't know, why don't we just call ourselves the Midnight Express? He didn't think much of it. It's just the name that he'd been using anyway. So they didn't want to be bothered with brainstorming for a name. They were like, who fucking cares what you call us, right? So Condrey just used something that was familiar to him that he had already been using. And Cornette and Eaton kind of just shrugged their shoulders and said, it's all right with us. And Bill Watts was like, all right, it's fine with me.
And nobody knew. And the other thing about the territories these days is nobody knew what the fuck. I mean, they had always done stuff in Southeast and Memphis or whatever.
Yeah, they never came to Mid-South.
Yeah, so in Louisiana, they didn't know what the fuck the Midnight Express was ever. And that's another great part of the territory, Aaron. A great part of the lack of information is you can just go to the same territory, do the same thing over or different territories, and do the same idea over and over again, because the people in New Orleans don't know what the fuck you did in Memphis, and the people in Memphis have no idea what you did in Knoxville. You know what I mean? So you could really, you could play it up pretty well, and you can have like one or two ideas and do it across the entire country, over and over again. It's a nice gimmick, nice gig.
Yeah, because no version of the Midnights had ever been in Mid-South, so it was all new to them, the name and everything. So, and then the rest is history. They became major stars. Obviously, the chemistry between the three of them was just ridiculously off the charts. So it's just something that worked. In the history of wrestling, there's been thousands upon thousands of tag teams that were put together where the chemistry just didn't work and they fade away. And even if it's two charismatic wrestlers who are good workers, for whatever reason, it just doesn't click. These three guys obviously clicked at the highest possible level. They're arguably the greatest American tag team of all time. And it all started in Mid-South, and it's the first time that they crossed paths with the Rock and Roll Express. And they drew a shit ton of money with the Rock and Roll Express in Mid-South, and that was the seeds of a rivalry that would last well into the 2000s on convention shows and nostalgia shows and independent shows in the South, where as long as those guys could get into a ring and bump, and Ricky Morton still gets into the ring and bumps to this day, you were going to get some kind of version of the Midnights versus the Rock and Roll Express, and people were still going to pay money to see it. And it all started in 1984 in Mid-South.
Yeah.
So,
I do want to know before we move on is that if you're ever looking for, and there's a lot of this on YouTube as well, the Midnight Express, their first big feud in Mid-South was with Magnum TA and Mr. Wrestling 2, and there's a lot of really good stuff if you want to see that. There's lots of footage of that. You can see a lot of the matches if you want to see a young Magnum TA working with the Midnights, and you can watch the Midnights kind of figure things out and figure out their chemistry in a lot of those matches with Magnum TA and Mr. Wrestling. But that's a really good feud to check out as well, and a really cool ending where Mr. Wrestling 2 turns on Magnum TA and helps. That doesn't help the Midnights win the title. He just goes, here you go, beat his ass if you want. I don't really care, that type of thing. But it's fun to watch an early Magnum TA as he's kind of growing and developing his skills, as well as the Midnights kind of figuring out what they wanted to be and how they were going to get that chemistry. And you could see the chemistry just growing and growing and growing with every single match that they have. And and then the Rock and Rolls come in, and then we're off to the races here.
Magnum TA had to be 21, 22 years old.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm trying to think, because this was late 83, early 84.
What year was he born?
He was born in 1959. Holy shit, yeah.
So, he's 24.
Okay. Still.
A little older.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember, wasn't his accident like when he was 26 or something like that? It was like,
it's
I
crazy.
know he looks like he was 45 with the big mustache, and just everybody looked older then, and more masculine in those days for whatever reason. But he was like 26 when his career ended or something like that. And that would have been 86 or 87, 86. So that's just a few years, because we're talking 83.
Yeah,
so
October 86. October 86 is when his crash was.
Yeah, so he would have been like 22, 23 with this Magnum TA. And that, again, kind of put him on the map too. But so they're making a ton of money in Mid-South, and they know they've got a winner here. And Condre is getting in Cornette's ear, and he's telling them, he's like, look, we got to get to Crockett, because Dusty's taking over the book. They're going to, they got Ric Flair. The Road Warriors are going to work with the Road Warriors. The Rock and Roll Express, I think, may have left before they did and gone to Crockett. They did, in fact. The Rock and Roll Express were there before the Midnight Express, because we're going to get to that. And Condrey knew, he had the foresight. He said, we're making good money here, but we can crush it with Crockett. They're going to try to go head-to-head with McMahon and all this. So he kind of had the vision. But they got sent to Texas first, and they went to World Class. And they went in, with optimism, because they were coming off, World Class was coming off a hot run.
Yeah,
a couple years earlier. And they're like, all right, none of them had really ever worked there before. And that's where they first crossed paths with the Fantastics, another one of their career rivals. That was in World Class, and there are tons. I shouldn't say tons, but there's plenty of Fantastics Midnight stuff on tape in great quality versus the Fantastics. There's that great episode of TV where it's the Fantastics versus the Midnights. It's Shawn Michaels doing job duty to, I think, the one-man gang, and then I can't remember what the third match is, but it's one of the greatest 1 hours of wrestling television, that I have ever seen in terms of a 1 hour wrestling television show. And there's a great Fantastics Midnights match on that. Can't remember the exact date. Might have been October.
I'll try to get it for you here. I know the episode you're talking about. It's when the network first started. That was one of the first episodes I watched of World Class, because I remember hearing about how awesome that episode of TV was. So when we all got access to World Class's archives, I was like, I got to find this thing out right away. I'll try to find the date for you, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's Shawn Michaels, SEAN.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. So they did a lot of cool stuff in Texas with the Fantastics and everything, but it was a horrible time for Condre and the team personally because they weren't making any money. They didn't like working there. The territory was clearly on the slow decline and on the way down. There's the famous story that Cornette likes to tell where they were doing these tiny spot shows, sometimes in bars, and they would go with a limited crew. So the opener would be the Fantastics versus the Midnights, and then there'd be like one or two other matches, and then the main event would be a singles match between one of the Fantastics and one of the Midnights. And what they would do is, to keep their bodies fresh or whatever, and just to keep their minds sane, is it would rotate it. One night it would be Bobby Fulton versus Bobby Eaton. The next night would be Tommy Rogers versus Dennis Condrey, so on and so forth. But these shows paid horribly, and the infamous story is, I think, Condrey got this payoff of $63 one time from one of those shows, $50 for the tag match and $13 for the singles match, and they're basically like, we got to get the fuck out of here because we're not making any money, and Crockett's going to blow up, and we're going to miss the boat on that. So the good thing is, as far as the footage and everything, and as wrestling fans, the vast majority of their work in that territory was with the Fantastics, and it's fucking awesome. So there's a lot of great footage of the Midnights there because they're working with such a great team. So
that it was taped. I don't know when it aired. It was January 11th, 1985. But that is the episode that you're talking about. It's Kerry Von Erich versus Chris Adams, Kelly Kaninsky versus Buck Zumhoff, Rip Oliver versus Terry Daniels, Billy. Is this the right?
No, that's the whole taping.
That's the whole taping, that's the whole right? Taping. Okay, the episode. Okay, here's the episode. Is Shawn Michaels versus the One Man Gang, like you said. I'm trying to find the exact. I can't find the whole episode. It's
only like 3 matches.
Yeah, I forget exactly what the whole episode is, but yeah, it is highlighted by the Midnights beating the Fantastics to win the American titles in the main event.
Obviously, molten hot crowd like always.
You want to talk about a blowjob tag team? There are few teams blowjobbed as much as the Fantastics did. Even in that era where people went nuts for the Von Erichs, people went almost as nuts for the Fantastics. Like, those guys couldn't get to the ring without women just kissing them. Like, it took them forever. We talked about it when we anytime we've watched for this series, we watched old, and the Rock and Rolls would have the same issue where some of these teams couldn't get to the fucking ring because the fans, and you'd have to have these security guards, these big giant security guards throwing 12-year-old girls out of the way to be like, they gotta get to the ring, stop kissing them. But hey, you know what? You want to get paid? Got to be a good old blowjob tag team. And yeah, the Fantastics were perfect at it.
Yeah, I mean, and there were so many teams put together in that era trying to bite off of the Fabulous Ones, right? Because they were the first team of that type. Even the Rock and Roll Express, to some degree, are a derivative of that. Obviously, the Fantastics are a direct rip-off of the Fabulous Ones. But you had the Fantastic Ones, Terry Taylor, and, who the fuck was it?
Oh, the Fantastic Ones. I think it was Tommy Rich. Yeah.
And the same thing with the bow ties just didn't work. Again,
right. Then you had the rock and roll RPMs when you're trying to rip off the rock and rolls.
Every territory had one. Southern Rockers, Steve Dahl and Rex King.
It was Bobby Fulton and Terry Taylor. Bobby Fulton and Terry Taylor was the Fantastic Ones, actually.
Yeah, and I think Terry Taylor also tried it with Tommy Rich, if I'm not mistaken. They also had a team that didn't. I get confused. There were so many of them.
There was hundreds of ripoffs.
Group of guys. There was one too. I think they tried it with Brian Adias from Dallas. They teamed him with one of those guys in another territory, and he recognized right away that it was never going to work, and he just left town and went back to fucking Texas. But he kept the tights. And like when his tights change in Texas, that's the signal that he came back from fucking Memphis or whatever and abandoned the fucking blowjob tag team they tried with him. But the Fantastics and the Midnights from that era, it's just it's such great stuff. But they wanted to get out, and they wanted to Condre in particular was pushing to get into Crockett because he saw that as the place to make the most money. That wasn't WWF, although that would come into play a little bit later in the story too. And the thing with Condre, circling back to him since that's who we're talking about, he was such the perfect foil and the perfect dichotomy to these teams like the Rock and Roll Express and the Fantastics, because as we noted, he was a big ugly guy. You know what I mean? Like he was the polar opposite of like Tommy Rogers. And he was such a great worker. Like when you watch Dennis Condrey work, I mean, if you want to talk about just being great at the fundamentals, but it wasn't just that. I mean, he could throw bombs too. And he could throw big bombs, but it was really the fundamental, the way he would throw strikes and punches and lay everything in and just really look like he was putting a beating on somebody.
Be careful. Be careful if you watch Midnight's matches this week. You listen to this show and then you get inspired to watch Midnight's matches. It's one of those things that you talked about. Alan Cunahan did this not too long ago, where he was watching old wrestling and just being like, nobody works like this anymore. This doesn't. This sort of attention to detail and just basic fundamentals just does not exist anymore. And yeah, I've watched probably 50 or so Midnight's matches this week in anticipation of this show, and I'm just like, God damn it. It just doesn't, like, I watched Dynamite yesterday and I was just like, nobody on the show.
No.
It works even like a fraction of the fundamentals that these two dudes have.
They're great in their own way, some of the guys now.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't, like Dennis Condrey is the kind of wrestler. He is almost the poster boy of the kind of wrestler who will ruin this shit for you if you watch too much of him. And
Ole's another one that does it. Ole Anderson is another one where I'm like, God damn it. This doesn't exist anymore.
Like Darius Martin is never going to be as good.
Darius.
And listen, Rich, we're not those guys.
No. We're not stuck in the mud at all. It just is what it is.
It just is what it is. We're not those guys. Okay. But they just, it's different now. And you watch guys like Ole is a perfect one. We talked about this when we eulogized Ole. Ole and Dennis Condrey are like the perfect examples, because they also have looks that wouldn't even get them near a TV promotion today. That's the other reason it's so striking, because you watch Ole Anderson, who's just this middle-aged looking guy he's round, he's balding, doesn't bother to shave his head to just fucking cut to the chase. He just allows himself to have George Costanza's fucking haircut. But when the bell rings, that motherfucker, you feel like he's putting a beating on this jobber or whoever he's in the ring with. And Condrey the same way, especially so though. Condrey, again, a bigger guy. In there with like Tommy Rogers, who's 5'8", 220, not even maybe listed 220. He's probably 20.
Oh no, I don't know.
5'5", maybe at his most steroid peak, he was 200 or so. But you get the idea. In there with Ricky Morton, who's a tiny dude and never juiced, and Tommy Rogers, who was a tiny dude until he juiced. Like and it's like the stiffness and just the snugness of Condrey's work just comes through tenfold, because you have this huge man putting this fucking beating on this 5'8" guy, so the opponents that he had really exemplified his working style. And, Eaton was a little flashier, he'd do the top rope leg drop and all of that. But he was a big guy too, who knew how to lay it in and looked like he was working stiff when he really wasn't, and all of those things. So, anyway, They wanted to get to Crockett, and they eventually did in 85.
85. They got there. You know what? Honestly, they got there at the perfect time. Like, it had to have gone. They got there right as it was really getting hot. So it almost worked out that it took them a couple more months to get there, because they get there. There's no better time to jump into Crockett than when they did.
Yeah, the problem was the Rock and Roll Express beat them there, and were already well ingrained into like mainline stuff because they were feuding with the Russians over the tag team titles. So what Dusty was doing, he's like, I'm absolutely going to put you with the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
I can't do it now because they're in the middle of a program with the Russians. They're trading the titles back and forth. So what he did was, not only did he not put them together, he kept them apart. He was booking the Rock and Roll Express in the Carolinas. He was booking, if you go back and look at the Midnight Express, they were booked in Georgia. They were doing like the spot shows in Columbus, Ohio, and Wildwood, New Jersey, and places like that. And he was literally keeping them apart. They weren't even on the same shows together yet because Dusty wanted to save that shit for the right time. And then eventually, obviously, by 86 or by the end of 85.
Yeah, late 85. 85, yeah.
Yeah, he redid the Midnight Rock and Roll stuff that was done first in Mid-South, which had a proven drawing record as well. And look, that was just, we talk about this promotion all the time. To me, it's one of the most rewatchable eras of any territory or promotion in pro wrestling history. Jim Crockett Promotions, from when Dusty takes over, really till when Dusty gets fired for doing the blood angle on TV, which would play into something we're going to talk about with Condre very heavily. Really, you can measure it from there, from when Dusty takes over, kind of turns over the roster. A lot less Johnny Weavers and a lot more Magnum TAs and Tully. Well, Tully was there before Dusty, I think. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
More Midnight Express, more Rock and Roll Express, more, the Dusty crew.
Whatever
that
you
came
think.
in, the Russians.
When you close your eyes and you think of the peak of Jim Crockett Promotions, that's that roster. It's not the roster from 84. It's not the roster from 83. It's the roster from 1985, 86, 87. That's the roster, That's what Dusty brought in, and out with the Briscoes, out with Johnny Weaver, and some of those guys were fine, but they didn't fit the vibes of what Dusty was doing. And the Midnights were obviously a massive, massive part of that. And they reignited their feud with the Rock and Roll Express. They worked with, the Road Warriors, obviously, the famous scaffold match and all of that at Starrcade 86. So they had teams to work with. And Condrey was right. They were making more money than they ever made before. And they even got a call from Vince McMahon. They got the call from Vince McMahon, who brought them up to, was it Connecticut, I guess, or New York, or wherever it was? I don't remember the particulars of the story. I forget where he called them, but yeah, he called them and they wanted to do a meeting and try to get him poach them from Crockett to come to the WWF.
Yeah, and the big pitch, as Cornette tells the story, the big pitch was the action figures. He kept touting the action figures, I guess, because that part of the pitch worked with other talent, but they weren't particularly impressed with the action figure aspect of it. And
I could see how that would work, because that's passive income, and you got to think at this time, when if you're a wrestler, the only way you are making money is by working, making towns, right? Like, there's no other. That's the only way you get a paycheck, is you got to go to work. And now I could definitely see Vince saying, "Look, you're just gonna get a check. All I need is your likeness, and you'll get a check. You don't have to do a thing, and I'll pay you." Am I going to pay you what you earned from these action figures? Don't ask that question, but I could see how any level of passive income, selling that to any wrestler of the territory era, I could absolutely see them saying, "Oh God, even if it's $1,000 a month or whatever, I'll take it, because I'm not getting $1,000 a month to do nothing, here on the territories." So I'm in. I could totally see that pitch working.
Yeah. So, but it didn't work on them.
No.
They weren't impressed with that part of it. And this is a case where I think Cornette just wasn't able to see. He didn't have a good vision of the future, or what you were talking about, because as the way Cornette tells it is that they thought of themselves as these heels that grandmas in the front row wanted to fucking stab, and who had to sneak out of the back of the fucking arena before the show ends so they wouldn't get attacked, and all of this. And they're like, why would anybody want our action figures? So they didn't think they were going to make any money on merchandise and marketing and things like that, which was a total misread, with the benefit of hindsight, by Cornette and those guys. And the other thing that they talk about is they didn't really hear a lot of booking ideas from Vince. They heard a lot of, I'm going to make you rich and all this bluster and action figures and cartoons and all this. But what they were really looking to hear was, all right, here's what the ideas I have for you. We're going to put you in a 6-month program with, I don't know, fucking Hart Found, whoever the fuck was there at that time. Then we're going to do this. And then, maybe we'll turn you baby fit. No, there was none of that. It was just, I'm going to make you rich. And you've never been an action figure before. Right. And they weren't the kind of guys that were going to be taken by that. So they left the meeting with Vince unimpressed, and they stuck with Crockett.
Yeah, and it should be noted too, like, we know what happened in history, and we know obviously the WWF won the war and won everything, and everybody was. But if you were working, especially you working Crockett in '87. The WWF wasn't a sure thing. The WWF wasn't, this is going to be the thing that's going to take over the entire industry. Like Vince was running in the red for a long time. I mean, to get to where Vince got to run WrestleMania 1, he had to basically pay through the nose for all this talent, all this TV time, and it was shaky. It was more shaky than WWF history is never going to tell you that. Of course, Vince McMahon discovers Hulk Hogan and creates Hulkamania, and the rest is history. But it was way more touch and go there for a while. And now that's, again, that fact is kind of lost to history, and it was like, it was always going to be successful and it was always going to work. Like, yeah, they had, the ability, they certainly had a head start being in New York and Vince buying the territory for pennies on the dollar from his dad or whatever. And yeah, but there were aspects of Vince's takeover that, there's a couple things that, by WrestleMania 2, by the year after WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 2, like, if you read the old Observers, there's talk that Dave's having is like, yeah, the business is really slowing down and the houses aren't as much and Vince is really running in debt. And like, it was way, way, way more touch and go than you might think. So I could absolutely see the Midnight saying, yeah, we're not really seeing much from this guy. It's and you know what? We got a pretty good thing going in Crockett. So yeah, it's not worth, does it seem silly in hindsight to turn down Vince McMahon in the WWF in 1987? Yeah, probably, but it doesn't, it's that's not understanding exactly where WWF was in the hierarchy at that time. And no doubt territories were going out of business left and right, but there were still some strong territories, and Crockett being very, very strong at that time as well.
Yeah, and remember, this isn't even 87, because by 87, Condrey had quit. So you're talking even earlier than that. You're talking, I don't know when this meeting was, but I'm guessing it was in 86.
Yeah, and a lot of 86, again, like I said, if you want to go back to the old Observers, like, Dave talks a lot about how Titan Sports is, accumulating a lot of debt and the houses are getting a little small. And he even says, is Hulkamania maybe losing a little bit of its luster? Like, it had its run, and it's so funny in hindsight to think about it, but it makes sense. It's like Hulk's had his 2-year run and maybe it's over, like that's how top runs were for a while. And maybe, and I remember reading one Observer from, maybe July or August of 86. And Dave's writing like, maybe it's time for Hulk to try to look at moving to another territory because he's starting to lose some, and all this seems insane in hindsight, obviously what would happen over the next couple of years. But they were still considered to just be another territory. They just happened to be a territory that was spending a shit ton of money to acquire talent and acquire TV. And of course, by WrestleMania 3 and then by, the year after and then the collapse of Crockett, like, no doubt Vince and WWF were, emerged as no doubt the winners in the war or whatever. But yeah, 86 is way more touch and go than you might think.
Yeah. So it would have been in 85 or 86 for sure, because in 87, Dennis Condrey just fucking disappears. And he doesn't tell anybody he's leaving. And he just fucking drops off the planet. And presumably, I think, there's a couple times he disappears. He disappears again. We're going to talk about two more times that he just up and fucking quit. He is the embodiment of the of that internet meme where it's just like, just quit, just get up and leave. It just, if you're not feeling something. And this was the first time he did that, and he left Cornette and Eaton high and dry in early 87. And I think Dusty was the one who picked Stan Lane, who was working in Florida at the time, to and Dusty, obviously, if it was Dusty, and I think it was, good job out of him, because he stepped right in and the chemistry remained the same. If they weren't as good with Stan Lane, they weren't far behind. I mean, there's some
I think it's
people
real
prefer-
close. Yeah, I think it's real close. It's a little bit of a different vibe because Stan Lane's a little bit more of a dynamic worker and a little faster, but
little flashier.
yeah, but it's pretty close. I think I prefer Condre, but it's not that far off. It's really close. And if you said you prefer the Lane and Eaton, I wouldn't argue with you either.
Yeah, I mean, it was the version with Condre was a little grittier. The version with Lane was a little flashier. But the chemistry was, again, just insane, and it worked from that standpoint. And it's funny because Cornette didn't put either of these teams together, yet both of them worked so great, right? Like Bill Watts put the Condre version together, and Dusty put the Stan Lane version together, and they both were phenomenal and two of the greatest teams of all time. Condre, though, I think he may have been already living in Colorado by that point, and maybe he was just tired of the long trip. I know for a fact he was living in Colorado later when he quit the AWA, which we're going to get to. But whatever the reason was, and I don't even know if the reason's ever really, I think maybe he was just, fuck this, I'm tired of this. I want to go home.
I never found like a good reason why. I never found a good explanation for why he quit.
I mean, it's 15 years straight of living the fucking road life. And, when you think about his early career, I think it's interesting. He never really left that Tennessee area. He bounced between the three promotions that were right at each other's back doors. And, it's like guys from that era would say you didn't even necessarily have to move when you switched territories when you worked in those three places. So maybe he's just someone who the grind of Crockett got to him, because look at the other places he worked too. World class, you're working Texas. You're not randomly jaunting off to fucking Montana when you're working for, whereas with Crockett, like I said, they were working in it when they first came in Atlanta, but then they were doing spot shows in Ohio. They were doing spot shows in New Jersey.
Yeah, and that's a lot of guys talked about that at the time. You and I had this discussion. I forget who we were talking about. Maybe 6 months ago or a couple months ago, we were talking about one of the old territory guys. I forget who it was, but he just basically quit WWF because he was like, dude, I'm not flying from Sacramento to fucking Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, who was that?
You know what I'm talking about? It was Sacramento, too, is the town he mentioned. He was like, literally, I got on a plane, I went to Sacramento, and the next day I had to be in Columbus. And I was like, fuck this. And he just quit. He was just like, forget it. I'm going to go back to the territories where I can live in one place, drive to my town, and come home and go to bed. God, who was it? He said I could work these territories, and most times I could come back
sleep in my own bed.
I was someone from Portland, I want to say, but who...
I don't think it was Steve Regal.
No, maybe it was Steve Regal. No, you're right. It was Steve Regal. No, it was. It absolutely was. It was. I'm positive it was Steve Regal because Regal had that brief tenure in WWF, and
he did,
and he just bounced. No, it was absolutely Regal. It was 100% Regal because he was talking about how in a lot of the Texas and other territories, especially like you said, the southeastern territories, you could work a town and be in your own bed that night.
Yeah.
It'd be a long drive, and you might get in at 1 a.m. or whatever, but you could sleep in your own bed. And he said he did that WWF grind for a little bit, and he was just like, fuck this. Like, I'm not.
Plus, he wasn't getting pushed.
Right. I'm not going to get pushed, and I'm not getting pushed, and I'm on these flights. And so I could see like an old territory guy like Condre who had been on the road for 20 straight years or 15 straight years or whatever.
Yeah.
Getting on a plane and going to New Jersey and then getting on a plane and then going to this town and being like, I don't need this shit.
It was Regal because I remember he said he stayed long enough to get to buy his house. And then I think he retired. I think he largely just retired after, because that was like 89. He didn't wrestle much after that.
Right.
He just did. So I think, and he said, yes, I was a job guy, but I made more money than I ever made in my life. And I just stuck around to pay off my house or down payment, whatever it was, to buy his house. And then he just quit. That was it. And he just he bought his house and then got a real job. So you're right. Yeah, it was Regal. So he leaves, and the Midnight Express carries on with Stan Lane, and he hooks up with Vern. You know what? I bet you he was living in Colorado because Vern was running Denver, and Vern was running some of those mountain like Las Vegas and Denver, and maybe he saw that as right, and maybe he saw that as better than running up and down the Atlantic coast. Because he was closer to home and all of that. So that may have been a factor. But when he went to the AWA, which was obviously not in great shape at that time, very similar to the state that Dallas was in when he went there. Like they weren't it wasn't 1989 AWA yet, but it was clearly past the peak. And that's where he was reunited with Randy Rose, and they reformed the Midnight Express under the tutelage this time of Paul E. Dangerously. So again, we have two concurrent versions of the Midnight Express at the same time in 1987 and 1988, with the Lane Eaton version and the original version of Condre and Rose in the AWA, where they had matches with teams like the Midnight Rockers, and they were associated. Vern was associated with Memphis at that time, so they did a lot of stuff with Jerry Lawler and people like that. In fact, it was wasn't it the AWA Southern Tag Team titles that they? Oh no, that would have been earlier. That would have been a few years earlier when he was still in the territories. Where even the tag team titles in Memphis had the AWA name attached to them for a while, but that was an earlier era. But again, now, Vern's having a lot of trouble paying guys because his business is declining, and Condre had a pay dispute. I think specifically Condre, for whatever reason, had a pay dispute, or it may have been Rose. One of them had a pay dispute with Vern. And Condre once again just fucked off and quit, and that was that. And the other two followed him though. Paul E. and Rose backed him up, and it was so abrupt that they had to take a television match. And we've covered this match a million times, I think. They had to take a television match that they filmed with the Midnight Rockers in Las Vegas that they won and successfully defended the tag team titles in, and do one of those Stanley Blackburn reversals of the decision, and to get the titles onto the Midnight Rockers, because the Midnight Express were not coming back to drop them because they had the pay dispute, and they quit the territory. So that match is on tape. It's all over the place, and the Midnight Express wins, but then they reverse the decision based on nonsense and give the titles to Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. So from there, Cornette pitches the idea to Dusty. Hey, look, Dennis is available. He's teaming with Randy Rose. Paulie's a talented guy. We could do this feud between the two Midnight Express teams. And that's when they came into the NWA as the original Midnight Express, which was confusing for a little kid like me who only knew of the Bobby Eaton versions of the team. I knew of Dennis Condrey, but I didn't know who Randy Rose was when I was fucking 10 years old or whatever it was. And I'm like, these guys I thought the heat was that they were calling themselves the original Midnight Express.
Right. And you're like, they aren't the Midnight Express. These guys are the Midnight Express. Yeah. I
thought that was the heat.
Right.
Like, I was like,
you didn't know your 1970s or your early 80s, I should say 1980s Southeastern history very well as a 9-year-old watching World Championship Wrestling on television. Yeah.
As a kid, I thought, Dennis Condrey got this new partner and this manager who's like similar to Cornette, and he's and they're like, that was the heat. I thought Condrey was being a dick by calling himself the original Midnight Express. I didn't know they really were the original Midnight Express, but I guess the adult fans would have realized that, or the smart fans, the insider fans. And it kicked off with that great angle where Stan Lane's having a singles match. Cornette is at the podium with Schiavone or Crockett or whoever the fuck it was. I think it was Schiavone. Or was it Crockett?
I forget. It may have been both of them, actually. But I don't remember the exacts. But yeah, this is what kicks everything off, and it's awesome.
So Schiavone's like, you have a phone call, Jim. And Jim's like, Jim, Stan Lane's in the ring having a match. I don't have time to take phone calls. And I'm like, no, you better take this one. So he's like, all right, fine, give me the phone. And Cornette's like, who is this? Well, I ought to. Well, why don't you come down here then and just say it to my face, right? And he's just arguing with nobody on the phone, and they're not. It's this mystery, like we don't know who's on the other end of the phone, right? So he hangs up on the guy and he's blowing it off, but then the Midnights and Dangerously storm the set and they jump Cornette and they jump Stan Lane. And here's the thought that was put into this, Rich, because it was the singles match. Eaton wasn't at ringside. So they had the numbers. You see, like, this is the kind of thought that they often don't put into angles today. So then Eaton had to come running in to save them. But by then it was too late because they got overwhelmed. Then they overwhelmed Eaton. Cornette, of course, is wearing a white suit because, of course, he is. And dangerously cold cocks him with the gigantic fucking brick cell phone. And Cornette does the blade job. Bleeds all over the white coat. They leave everybody laying. It's a classic angle. And then the next week is a classic angle, too, where Cornette comes out with the bloody coat.
Right. He's got the scar on his forehead, the big bandage, and he's just, the coat is still just stained with blood all through it, and it's on. At that point, it is fucking on.
He cuts this impassioned promo. So the Cornette version are the baby faces. The Paul Lee version are the heels. Even though they're right, they are the original Midnight Express.
Correct. They are justified in their heel, and a lot of good heels are justified in what they say. I do want to point. I want to circle back to the thing that you talked about, where the thought that was put into the angle, and that's another thing that people. I'm doing a Q&A right now for the Patreon, and hopefully you have that done the next day or so. I got a lot of questions, so it's taking me a while to get through them. But somebody asked, like, what would I change about modern wrestling, and I care, effort is what I would change more than anything, because I feel like we don't do any of that anymore, because you pointed out perfectly, and I saw it so much when I was watching episodes for Tour of the Territories, and I see it so much anytime I watch old wrestling, but there always had to be a reason why if the heels were going to outnumber the babyfaces and get the advantage on the babyfaces and bloody the babyfaces and destroy them, it had to make sense. It couldn't just be the heels came out and beat the fuck out of the babyfaces, then walked up the ramp. And I always talk about today, every single angle today that you want to get heat is the heels running in the ring, or a heel runs into the ring, he beats up the babyface, and he beats up the babyface, and he beats up the babyface, and he beats him up, and he beats him up, and he beats him up. And then the closing scene that we see is the heel walking up the ramp with his back to the video board with his hands in the air, and then a cut to like the babyface bloodied or just on the mat destroyed or whatever, and you never see that in the Territory days. And the reason you don't is because it would make no fucking sense. Why would I ever cheer for the guy who just got his ass kicked? So it always there'd have to be numbers. There'd have to be a reason why nobody helped the babyface. There had to be a reason why the locker room didn't come out. There had to be a reason why the babyface's, tag team partner or manager didn't come out and help them. And almost all the time you would see, like in Mid-South, anytime, JYD would be, get beaten up by somebody, Jim Duggan would run out, and almost within seconds, the heels would either go packing and get the hell out of there, or they would get their asses kicked by Jim Duggan. Because once Jim Duggan got in there, then it was 2-on-2, and the babyfaces, if it's two babyfaces versus two heels, the babyfaces should outpower, and that's why you would cheer for them, because they're, it's like, and that's when, like, we had this discussion not that long ago on the show, and we were talking about MJF, and like, can anybody be good heels anymore? And I said, I don't think the problem is bad heels anymore. I think the problem is all the babyfaces suck these days, because all we ever see with the babyfaces is them getting their asses kicked constantly for heat, and they never feel tough, and they never look tough, and they never, they never make the heels back down from them. They're always just getting their asses kicked until the pay-per-view, and then they win the match at the pay-per-view. And it's like, okay, well, but we just saw the guy get his ass kicked for 5 straight weeks. Like, why would we ever invest in this guy or think that he's cool? But that was not the case. So I always loved that this angle, it had to make sense. Why would Bobby Eaton not be there? Well, the reason he's not there is because it's a singles match. If it was a tag match and they attacked him, it probably wouldn't have worked, because the babyfaces would have been, 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 with Cornette there as well. So you had to tell the story that they were 2-on-1 beating up, Cornette, and then when they got Cornette down, it was 2-on-1 beating Stan Lane, and then by the time Bobby Eaton got out there, it didn't matter because Cornette and Stan Lane had already been destroyed. So then you can get the heat by having a 3-on-1 attack on Bobby Eaton, and that sort of care would never happen today. Ever. It would just be the heels would come out and they would just beat the fuck out of Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane for 10 minutes and then walk up the ramp with their arms in the air.
Walk up backwards as the music plays.
Right. That's exactly how it happened. And we would cut to Jim Cornette writhing in pain, and Bobby Eaton writhing in pain, and Stan Lane writhing in pain. And we're supposed to say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for those guys, the guys that got their asses kicked. No, I'm going to cheer for the guys that kicked all the ass. Like, why would I not? And that is the big issue with wrestling today, is the babyfaces are fucking pussies, and they get their asses killed. They get destroyed constantly for heat. But, in this case, it made sense, because no, they didn't have their numbers, and the heels had the advantage because they had the numbers advantage, and they knew exactly when to attack at the exact right time.
Yeah, and the other thing that would have happened too is it would have taken Bobby Eaton much longer to come out, and it wouldn't be until his music played.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like his music would have to play.
He's like the whole song, like half the song.
Right? Yeah. No, seriously. Like we're not fucking around. Like you'd have to get like 15 notes of the song first. Yeah, until it was. Then he would come out.
Right.
And he'd be in his gear for some reason, and then then he would proceed, and then he'd probably beat all three of them up, right? Like he wouldn't even get overwhelmed and beaten up at that point. So look, it's just, again, we are not those guys. Maybe we are those guys. We're not those guys.
We might be becoming those guys more and more. But
there are just so many things that were done better, and this is
watch this angle. And this angle is readily available. I believe it used to be readily available on YouTube. I'm sure it still is. Watch this angle and tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're wrong.
Yeah,
I dare you.
And as someone points out in the chat, even the commentary screaming, Shivani, they don't work here because. To the people watching on TBS, these guys were tag team champions on ESPN a month earlier. You know what I mean? They saw them working in the AWA. So now the problem with this awesome feud on paper, and there was plenty of good stuff too in the course of it, was that Dusty, who was behind it 100%, gets fired. He has his thing where he does the blood, and TBS fires him. So
TBS says you can't do blood, and Dusty goes, I got you. Okay, no problem. And then says, all right, so what's going to happen is you're going to stab me with a spike.
You're going to put a spike in my eye and bloody me up.
Dusty, you can't do blood or anything violent. Got it. Okay. And then leaves that meeting to go to a booking meeting where he tells the Road Warriors, all right, so for heat, you're going to grab your spike and stab me in the eye. All right.
Right. But we'll make it black and white, and we'll get away. We'll get away with it.
I'm sure they won't care. Because by this point, we should note that this is no longer Jim Crockett Promotions. This is now World Championship Wrestling, because
we're getting professional around here at this point. So
we're owned by Turner now.
But Crockett took back over after they fired Dusty. So this might still be Crockett at this point, but we're getting to where.
That's okay. Sale? Yeah. We're still, but we're trying to button things up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's but because Crockett took over, and he didn't know how to book. But the thing about Crockett was he admitted he didn't know how to book. But he liked this angle because he liked Dennis Condrey from when he worked there previous, but he didn't like Randy Rose. And that's where things started to fall apart, because Crockett didn't like the way Randy Rose worked. He didn't like the way Randy Rose looked. And he kept trying to replace him in the tag team. And Cornette kept trying to explain, no, it has to be Randy Rose because that's the original Midnight Express. If we don't have Randy Rose, they're not the original Midnight Express anymore. That's the whole point of the fucking feud. We cannot replace this guy. And Cornette had already let bygones be bygones with Condrey. Remember, he walked out on him and Eaton, and they didn't really have a relationship at that point. But the way Cornette saw it was, it's a good angle. It's going to make some money. And look, we have thrived since Dennis left, and Dennis is the one working places like Vern's Dying AWA. It's like, let's just all make some money together, But it was Crockett who didn't like Rose. But then they talked George Scott out of retirement to come book the company, because he had booked it 5 years earlier, or 84, 83, whenever it was. Maybe even the late 70s. He might have had a couple tenures.
He was late 70s, and then he was also the early 80s.
Yeah. So and we've talked about that George Scott booking tenure a million times. He was gone too long. He didn't understand the business anymore, who the stars were. And
can you imagine being out of booking for 4 years and now you don't understand the business? Imagine if you left wrestling in 2021 and came back in 2026. Like, it would probably not be that hard to pick right back up and be okay. But this happened to George Scott. It happened to Bill Watts too. Bill Watts, was out of the game for a while, and WCW in 1992 or whatever, brings in Bill Watson. He's got no fucking clue what's going on. He doesn't understand at all. And he had just stopped booking like 3-4 years ago. And then WWF tried again with Bill Watson in 1995, and he was like completely lost again. So yeah, this is in these days, being gone out of the game for 3 or 4 years meant you didn't know what the fuck was going on anymore. You were lost as to what was the hot in professional wrestling. Where tell me if you left in 2023 and came back here in 2026, you wouldn't be able to pick right back up.
It'd be a lot easier. Yeah. It'd be a lot easier. So anyway, George Scott comes in. Now Crockett's already like, Crockett doesn't like the way Rose wrestles, and he's wary of Condrey because Condrey quit on him in 1987. It turns out George Scott had previous heat with Randy Rose, so like he doesn't like Rose. He doesn't like know who the Midnight Express are. Like he doesn't understand the feud to begin with because he's been out of wrestling so long. So this is just becoming a fucking disaster. And Condrey sees the writing on the wall. He's like, all right, well, these fucking guys, they don't like either one of us. So then they booked a loser leaves town match between, I think it was going to be all three versus all three with the managers involved as well. And Condrey knew, all right, they're going to get rid of either me or Rose. And then the one that's left is going to be a jobber. Like they're not going to use us well because they both have problems with both of us. So he split again before the pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Like he didn't even stick around for the pay-per-view. He said, fuck that. I'm leaving because they're either going to beat me at the pay-per-view and I'm going to get fired anyway.
Chi-Town Rumble, by the way, February 1989 is the show.
Yeah. And if they don't beat me and fire me, if they decide I'm the one they're going to keep, I'm not going to have a team anymore. And I'm just going to be a singles wrestler and they're not going to do anything with me as a singles guy. So either way, I'm fucked and I'm leaving. And you know what? It turned out he was right because what did they do with Randy Rose once they had the match at the pay-per-view? He stuck around for like 6 months as a singles wrestler and he was a television jobber. Like they literally did nothing. His push ceased instantly because they replaced Condrey with Jack Victory in the pay-per-view match. And then here's the thing. Rose gets pinned, but then they don't even bother firing Rose. They keep him around anyway, but he's just a job guy. He's just a TV job guy doing and working random sporadic house shows and getting beat on TV. So Condrey had the right read. He knew what his fate was going to be if he stuck around, and he got the fuck out of there.
Didn't even get the payday. And this is in the pay-per-view payday era, too. And he just said, fuck it. I don't care. You can have it. I don't care. You can keep your goddamn money. Fuck you. I'm out. Yeah.
So for the third time in like 18 months, he just walked out on his promotion when he saw the writing on the wall and it looked like shit was going sideways. He's just like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going home. You got to respect it to some degree. Like, he's not a man who, no notice. He just picks up and fucking goes. He's like, I'm out of here. But that really ended his major league career. He returned to what was left of Continental, but this was this is into the era after the Fullers had already gotten out. This was that, what the fuck was that guy's name who bought Continental for the final fucking time? The guy who,
shoot.
This was after
because it's not that Continental, it's the other Continental, the Alabama Continental.
Well, it's the same promotion, but it was no longer being run by the Fullers. Let me see if I can find the guy. David Woods.
David Woods. David Woods. Yep.
So he went back to the David Woods version of Continental, which was, by 1989. I mean, that was a fun promotion.
I like watching it, but yeah, it's as low rent as you could possibly be. I mean, it is. Yeah, it's certainly not the Continental of old at all.
Yeah, and then he just bounced around the indies until really Midnight Express nostalgia became something that he can make money on, and then it was the convention circuit, nostalgia shows, Southern Indies, where they just milked the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express for every fucking dime you could get out of it. And by that point in time, it was the three of them. It would be Eaton, Condrey, and Lane with Jim Cornette a lot of the time at these conventions and whatnot, and different combinations of them teaming together until Stan Lane got sick of that shit and stopped doing it. And he didn't want to be in the public eye anymore. And Condre just and Eaton just did it until their bodies couldn't do it anymore, and that really was that. And then he had that one appearance on Dynamite, or it may have been Collision. If it was it was with FTR.
It was with FTR. Yeah, I forget if it was Collision or Dynamite, but yeah.
Well, if it was FTR, it was probably Collision. I mean,
I think it was during that era.
I think it was when Punk was there too.
Yeah.
So that was his last time on TV when he popped up in AEW and it was Dax who set up the GoFundMe for his wife, because now I guess we should discuss the awful circumstances of the man's death. As told by Jim Cornette on his podcast this week, his wife was a nurse who was 9 days away from retirement. 9 days. And they were planning on spending time together. He had talked her into finally retiring. And he was 76, Condre. I think his wife's a little younger, but no spring chicken, in her 60s maybe. And he would drop her off and pick her up from work, and he didn't show up to pick her up from work. Wasn't answering his phone, wasn't answering text messages. She calls the neighbor, sends the neighbor over there to see what's going on. Neighbor has a key, goes in the house, finds him laying on the floor in the hallway. He was still alive at that point, but he had a fall and he broke his neck. And he either died on the way to the hospital or at the hospital.
I think it was at the hospital. Yeah, he had like his spinal cord was severely injured. He was paralyzed and was not doing well at all when he. So I think he got to the hospital and was alive still, and then passed away at the hospital.
Yeah,
maybe it was at his home. I forget. It doesn't matter. It didn't. It wasn't long.
The fall
after.
killed him.
Yeah.
The fall killed him, and he broke his neck. Died of due to the injuries from the fall. Who knows how long he was laying there, and before the neighbor found him. And just a terrible story, because it's the wife had about a week and a half left at work, and that was going to be that. And now she is a widow, and then Dax set up the GoFundMe to try to help her out, obviously a little bit. And Dennis Condrey dead at the age of 76.
It's at $46,000 right now, so a little over. The goal is 55,000, so 85% of the way there to the goal.
Yeah, and either way, she gets the money, so it's not like I don't know if people understand how GoFundMe works, but it's they're not like you only got to 53.5.
97%, too bad.
Send everybody their money back.
Right, anonymous. Here's your $10,000 back. Yes, a recent top donation from Anonymous, a little 10K from Anonymous. So,
very good chance that's somebody in the wrestling business.
I would guess,
obviously the FTR boys, Tony Khan was on the list the last time I checked it. There's tons of people donating to that. So 76 years old, Dennis Condrey, arguably the greatest tag team wrestler in the history of this thing. I mean, he's undoubtedly in the conversation. His work just jumps off the page when you watch him wrestle. There's no doubt about that. And every time he formed a new version of the Midnight Express or left a territory, it's like I always find it interesting how many tag teams formed in his wake. Where Randy Rose took on Ron Starr and Wayne Ferris to form another version of the Midnights, where Stan Lane joined the Midnights after he quit, where when he left to go to Mid-South, Norvell Austin stayed behind and formed the PYTs with Coco Ware. Right. And then they had a run for 3 or 4 years where they eventually circled back. They ended up in Mid-South with the Midnights. And both of those teams were having good runs concurrently for Bill Watts at one point. And then you go right down the line. He's a guy that was always, the number of tag team titles is in the, close to 100 total tag team titles that are just documented. Because so many of those territory title changes never got documented or were lost to history or whatnot. I think the Midnight Express alone held the Memphis tag team titles upwards of 30 times or something like that. But what's interesting is the two most famous versions of the Midnight Express, Condrey and Eaton and Lane, both only held the NWA World Tag Team titles once. And I bet you a lot of people would get that wrong if you asked them how many times the Midnight Express held the NWA World Tag Team titles. And in fact, The Eaton and Lane version was a very short title reign. A very short title reign. They were more in the mix with the U.S. tag team titles at that time, which were kind of the work rate tag titles of the territory during the Lane Eaton era. And the Eaton Condre team only held them, the NWA World Tag Team titles, once as well, under Crockett. So that might be surprising to people, but in terms of the different versions of the Midnights that worked in all the territories, just, and different tag team titles held by Condre, which I referenced earlier. He held those Memphis tag team titles with Hickerson and all those guys, upwards of like 30 times. So just a great tag team wrestler, a great wrestler, period. But one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time.
Absolutely. So, we always try to say if you want to try to watch stuff, and sometimes it's a little bit harder to recommend stuff, this is not one of those. This is a very easy. If you want to start with the deep dive that we have at flagshippatreon.com, I just looked. We had 16 videos, 16 matches that we watched, and 16, like, some of them were promos, some of them were matches or whatever. All but one are still available on YouTube. So the playlist that we had for that deep dive is still very available for you. So if you want, you could start there. And then it's really not that hard to type in Dennis Condrey or type in Midnight Express on YouTube. Now, you want to make sure that you're watching for Condrey purposes, you want to make sure you're watching the Condrey Midnight Express matches. But it's not hard to tell. You can just look at the years and follow kind of what we talked about in the timeline that we talked about, and you'll be able to tell the difference between the Condrey Midnight Express matches and the Stan Lane ones. But there's a lot. There's a ton to watch. You just pointed out the Hickerson stuff, and some of that is available as well. So not as big in numbers, but yeah, you could just type in Dennis Condrey into YouTube. You'll find a bunch, and type in Midnight Express into YouTube. You'll find a bunch. And then, of course, like I said, go listen to that deep dive at flagshippatreon.com. And yeah, 15 of the 16 videos we had laid out for you are still available, including the early promos. The first ever Midnight Express promo with Randy Rose and Condrey as they're trying to figure out the characters and figure out what they are, as well as the one with Wayne Ferris that we mentioned as well, where he's a very different honky-tonk man than what you're probably used to. So, yeah, it's really, really cool stuff, and there's just a ton to watch, and it's really, I can't say, here's what you got to watch, this match and this match and this match. Just hit play. Just watch it, right? Like, that's probably the best way to do it. It's, try to pick out what your favorite match of those guys are or whatever. I don't think it really works that way. It's just watch it. It's, it's all pretty fucking good is probably the best way to put it. I can't tell you I've watched a Midnight's rock and roll match or Midnight's fantastic match.
You're never going to be disappointed.
That was just okay.
These are some of the greatest tag team matches ever.
They set the stage for what tag team wrestling would be forever afterwards.
Yeah.
Everything in tag team wrestling changes once those guys switch the template up.
Yeah. And I guess we should mention too, like in the brief period after they quit the AWA and before they started the angle with Cornette and the boys, they stopped off in Windy City Wrestling, where they held the tag titles there. And I believe Cornette was booking Windy City Wrestling at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Or Dangerously, do you mean?
Oh, I say Cornette.
You said Cornette.
Dangerously,
Heyman.
Dangerously, Heyman would have been booking Windy City Wrestling around that time. And, I think they were just biding their time until the time was right for Dusty to bring them in. And they worked a bunch of they were pushed act in Windy City, which and I know Heyman was using Bam Bam there at that time, and Windy City was running some of the bigger independent shows of that late 80s era while Heyman was booking, and he used a lot of guys who he would use later in ECW. During that time at Windy City as well.
Wish I was alive. I wish I was old enough to. I was alive, but I wish I was old enough to go to some of those shows. Yeah. Of course, missed me by a little bit. I was 2 during most of that era, so my dad was not taking me to Windy City wrestling shows, but I wish he was, because it's a really fun era to go back and watch and check out. And yeah, just you like you said, the big part about that is you could start to see Heyman's, booking footprint and some of the trademarks that would, lead into ECW once he got the book there.
He used a lot of guys that he had been booking in Continental with Gilbert, and he used a lot of guys that he would book later in ECW, even a lot of underneath guys. I think 911 may have first crossed paths with him in Windy City, or definitely like the Motor City Madman for sure. Maybe not 911, but obviously he brought the Midnights there. But there's some interesting lineups if you can find the old Windy City Wrestling lineups, particularly when Heyman was booking. One thing that has annoyed me in the aftermath of Dennis Condrey's death, it's gotten a lot of mainstream attention, which is good, but it's just this thing again where when the mainstream sites get a hold of these deaths and it's WWE legend Dennis Condrey has passed away at 76. And that is so fucking annoying and straight up offensive to me. He never wrestled a single match in for Vince McMahon. Not one time. Not one match. He never made a dime off of Vince McMahon. I mean, I guess he worked maybe as a trainer for Cornette at one point when Cornette was running developmental. But as far as he never wrestled a match for WWE. And they always pull that shit. And it's so agitating to me where I understand that they're synonymous with pro wrestling to a lot of people or to most people and all of that. But it's disrespectful because the man never fucking wrestled there. And it's annoying and just agitating to me as a wrestling fan when I have to read TMZ or whatever mainstream outlet it is.
I saw Yahoo. I saw Yahoo had that, or people. Sorry, it was People that had it, and it said, Loverboy Dennis Condrey. It's a Dennis Loverboy Condrey, WWE legend and founding member of the Midnight Express, dies at 74.
Yeah, it's
sucks.
Gross. It's just so fucking gross. And it's not some tribalism thing. It's just it's incorrect.
It's just wrong. It's just fucking wrong. It's just not true.
You know, they aren't the entire industry. They just aren't. And I hate that shit. You know, it can't just be pro wrestling legend Dennis Condrey. Are they in the WWE Hall of Fame even? I don't even know the answer to that.
I'm sure the Midnights are. I don't know if, let me see. I don't know anything about the WWE Hall of Fame.
They might not even be in the WWE, not any version of the Midnights.
No, they have not. Wow. They have not.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I could totally see McMahon when he was running things not wanting to put Cornette in or give Cornette a mic.
Oh, this has got to be good. Let me click this link. It says, Bully Ray has no doubt the Midnight Express belong in the WWE Hall of Fame.
So great. Thanks, Bully.
Who cares about the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Okay. I despise when guys and gals have it. This is Bully talking. I'm not going to do the Bully voice because my Bully voice is just Vince Russo, so you don't have to hear that.
I despise
when guys and gals have earned the right to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and then they're not when they're living, but then the WWE decides to induct them when they're dead. What's the fucking point? The Midnight Express. Let's talk about the most famous version of the Midnight Express, which is Condrey and Eden, along with Jim Cornette. There's no doubt that they should be in the WWE Hall of Fame and should have been in the WWE Hall of Fame a long time ago just for their contributions to tag team wrestling.
How many versions of the Midnight Express can I name better than the Dudleys? Probably at least 4.
4 for sure. Bodacious. You know what? I'm going to draw the line at Bodacious Bart and Bombastic Bob or whatever the fuck. Yeah, that I will concede that the Dudleys are better than the new Midnight Express. So.
But they are not better than Dennis Condrey and Phil Hickerson. I will not go
No.
So there's another team. Now I'm up to 101.
To add to the mix, yeah. The WWE, I'll never forget the WWE Hall of like does it make you just when people have earnest discussions about the WWE Hall of Fame, I'm like, what are you doing? Like this week when it's like Psycho Sid and Bad News Brown are going into the WWE Hall of Fame, and it's like they should have inducted them when they were alive, and it's like, first off, Bad News Brown would have said fuck you about getting it. Like, he didn't want to go to the WWE Hall of Fame. He fucking hated Vince McMahon. He would have said fuck off. I'm not doing that shit. And it's like, who cares? I mean, just earnest discussions about the WWE Hall of Fame blow my mind, but sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know who's in it. I don't pay any attention to it. It doesn't mean anything. But I mean, the Midnight Express aren't in. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, right.
It's like,
if you need to know how much of a sham it is, the idea that they're not like when you were like, are they? I was like, of course. Like, I'm sure the Stan Lane, Bobby Eaton. No version of the Midnights are in. So just we're done here.
Yeah,
we're done here.
Yeah. So. That's I got anything else to add on Dennis Condrey?
I really don't. Yeah, it's just I hope we did it justice, and I hope we at least entice you if you've only seen a little bit of Midnight Express, a little bit of Dennis Condrey, or seen none of it. I hope we have enticed you to go and seek it out and like listen to that deep dive that we did. And hopefully, like I said, I'll try to put the link in the show notes. But that was a great show. We did like I just checked 2.5 hours about that feud, and like I said, the playlist that comes with that deep dive. You get so many of those videos are still available too, which is really cool. Because sometimes I go and look at these old deep dives and it's like, shit, like 2 of the 25 videos we have are available still. So just forget it. Don't go back. You can't watch anything we talk about or whatever.
Pretty complete still?
This is only, one video. I'm trying to figure out the one video that's missing, but one is missing out of 16. So that's
pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it does not usually happen because there are several deep dives that I've gone back and said, hey, yeah, you can go watch this. And it's like, actually, don't bother. It's all gone. Yeah. So you can hear us talk about stuff that you can't watch now. So if that helps, if you want to still do that, that's fine. But hopefully we entice you to go watch some Midnights, watch some Dennis Condrey, and really understand. And really, like we said, focus on his work and selling too. He was really good at like taking punches and selling and bumping all over the place. Like he's a complete worker in that sense. That he was really good at that aspect too. Now, promo wise, a decent promo, but obviously Jim Cornette brings that team up to a different level as a promo guy. But a decent enough promo to get by. Certainly not a bad promo guy, but definitely check it out. But horrible end to his life. But hopefully we did it a little bit of justice there. So, I don't know. What do you want to... We have a couple other topics to tackle here on this show. We did about almost 2 hours on Condre. Well-deserved. We have the New Japan Cup. We got All Japan Pro Wrestling. Oh, Ronda Rousey. Did you see this story? Ronda's not coming back to AEW, I guess? It was just like a one-off?
I kind of fucking had a feeling. We talked about that. I'm like, I don't know if she's ever coming back. I feel like it was just a one-off to pop the crowd. And for her to thumb her nose at TKO, which she has just come out and flat out said that's what she was doing now. And, just, I guess, keeping the door open. I mean, this is the second time that she's done one date for Tony and just called it quits. And I don't know. There was just something off about the angle. And there was something off about Tony's comments at the post-show presser where he kind of downplayed when he was asked about it. He said, well, Ronda, he was totally in storyline. And he was like, well, Ronda's friends with Marina Shafir and she wanted to have her back tonight. And I thought that was a weird answer. Have her back tonight. Like if he knew he was going to be promoting Ronda Rousey moving forward, he would have been much stronger in the way he answered in sort of hinting that she's going to be around, because why wouldn't you? It's Ronda Rousey. And he didn't do that. So I kind of felt that this was going to be the case, but obviously the door is open there if she ever wants to do anything there.
Sure. But yeah, they were in her hometown. She's trying to promote her fight. She was there. It's just, So so people can cool off, at least for now, in terms of getting upset.
If you're unhappy about it.
Right, don't worry.
She's not going to be around.
Right, and it might not be never. Like that fight could happen and then she could set up something for all, like who knows? Like I'm not saying that she'll never be back, but there's not like she's not going to be a regular part of the story. And especially so with Tony being out for the foreseeable future, Tony Storm being out for the foreseeable future, like now there's not even like her storyline thing that she did is not even there anymore either. So even if she was going to still hang or even if the plan was to have Ronda show up even more, like even the thing that the angle they shot that night isn't even, going to be worthy anymore. So there you go. So that's the Ronda Rousey thing. All right, let's go New Japan Cup. Let's talk about the New Japan Cup. Yeah, let's do that. Sorry, Kuma Arashi. You're gonna have to wait a little bit.
We'll get to that too.
We'll get to you, Kuma. We'll get to you, Kuma Arashi. So, how much of the New Japan Cup did you watch? Because I kind of, after the first round, I swore off New Japan for a little while, and I didn't really watch anything until the semis and the finals. How much of the New Japan Cup did you watch? To get us set up, because I did watch the semifinals and the finals. Just the cup matches, though. I'm not stomaching that much New Japan right now.
No, I watched everything that matters. I watched the last 2 shows. I bounced around early and, like you, got out of it for a while. I kept an eye on recommendations from people I trusted and popped in and out. I probably saw more of it than you did, but we're not here. I mean, we're just going to talk about the final anyway. So, right. First of all, from the standpoint of someone like you who's been so frustrated with New Japan that you've canceled New Japan World and you have to at least say that you were happy with the semi. I would assume that you were happy with what they did with the semifinals.
Yes. I was happy that it was 4 young wrestlers, unexposed wrestlers, newer wrestlers. Yeah, absolutely happy, of course.
And those matches were really good. Yuya Uemura over Oleg Boltin and Callum Newman over Shota Umino. Are you back in on Umino? A lot of people are back in on Shota Umino. Where are you standing?
I'm not quite there yet. I think he's definitely improved. He's definitely gotten better. there's still a lot missing from his game. There's still a lot missing. The charisma's still not quite there. The work was never really the huge issue. Like, I think his work's improved for sure. Being in that tag team definitely has improved his work. I still think he's lacking a little bit in the charisma department, and he's lacking a little bit in the jump off the page department. And I still don't see him as a top. Like, do I think that this guy's going to main event a Wrestle Kingdom and it be taken well in the next year or two? I don't. I don't think he's quite there yet. But no doubt, it's not the doldrums that we were at for a while there. But I don't think he's as well rounded as some of these other young guys that they have.
I have a lot of questions for you. I'm going to keep putting you on the spot
fine.
here.
Let's do it.
So they have clearly chosen fucking Marlowe guy, the world champion.
Yota Tsuji.
They clearly chose Yota Tsuji. Let's leave the foreigners. Let's leave Callum Newman and Oleg Boltin out of this for a minute. We're going to talk plenty about Newman, obviously. Out of that group of homegrown natives, it's clear they chose Yota Tsuji. He got the world title match almost immediately upon his re-arrival to the company when he returned, and they obviously put the world title on him at Wrestle Kingdom. Number one, do you agree with choosing Tsuji before these others? Let's start there. Was that the right choice?
I think he's more ready than the others. Now, I think long term, I still have a lot of stock in Yuya Uemura. I think he's awesome, but I would agree that right now, Yota Tsuji is probably the safest pick to be the guy. Now, long term, I don't know. I don't know if I agree. And you might be asking me those questions a little bit. But
But my question is, was he the right one to run with first?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, how do you think he's doing in his first few months? Does he carry himself like an ace? Does he carry himself like a world champion? Set business aside, all that.
Yeah. So again, I haven't watched that much of the undercards of these matches. I obviously saw Wrestle Kingdom, and he did carry himself like an ace at Wrestle Kingdom, no doubt about it. And I've seen a little bit of this stuff since then. I don't know if I don't think he's a ready-made ace right now, but I feel like there's enough of the vibes there to get me there. So ace is a strong word. I don't know if he feels like an ace, but he feels like a worthy guy to be the IWGP champion.
So with the next group, we obviously had Yuya Uemura in the final with Newman. We had Shota Umino made it to the semifinals. We've got Ryohei Oiwa, I would throw in that group. For posterity, I'll throw Ren Narita's name in there because he's part of that same group of guys. Ren Narita. Fucking geek.
He is. You're not wrong, but
he's in that group. I gotta throw him in.
For sure.
He's technically in the group. Of those four, and we do this whenever it comes up. Who's jumping out off the page for you? I have a feeling you're not going to say Shota Umino.
No, it's not Umino yet. I think Oiwa and Uemura, I think, are two guys that do.
Me too.
And those are the two guys that I circle as they're not all the way ready yet, but I think it's going to be not too long for Uemura to be ready, and I think shortly thereafter Oiwa is going to be following. Like I feel like Uemura is real close, and I feel like when I watched this final and I saw him lose, and that's a great story to have him lose too. I feel like that's setting this man up. If I'm booking, that man's winning my G1. And if I'm booking, that man's winning the G1 and he's going to Wrestle Kingdom and he's facing whoever. If it's Yota Tsuji, that's fine. I think you can tell the story. I think the arc is there now for Uemura to get to Wrestle Kingdom, the main event, and win that title. It's not yet, but in a year or whatever, he's going to be there, and I think that he's very ready. And again, like Oiwa is not far behind. But those are the two guys that I circle and say, yes, I see long-term projectability with those guys. Yota Tsuji's more ready now, but I don't see a whole lot of improvement in Yota Tsuji. I still see improvement for Uemura and Oiwa, and that has me at least excited.
So in terms of this final, it drew 3,007 fans, which is right in the neighborhood. Last year, Finley and Umino drew 3,271. The year before, Yota Tsuji and Hiroki Goto drew 3,003 fans. So right there in line with the last couple of years in terms of the New Japan Cup final, same show, year-over-year comp. Callum Newman, Yuya Uemura. As far as the match goes, everybody knows I love Callum Newman, and I've been a proponent of his for a long time. From before he even came into New Japan, we were both proponents of his, watching him on the come up as a young wrestler in Rev Pro. And then once he got to New Japan, he took a lot of heat from a lot of Western fans because he was this gangly 19, 20-year-old kid, not necessarily ready for prime time, but
protege of Ospreay was the bigger issue.
Which is, that's a big negative with a lot of people.
The biggest issue is Ospreay likes him, and he's a friend with Ospreay, so he must be bad.
Right.
I hate him.
Yeah. So, but I, we tried to tell people, hey, look, don't dig your heels in on this one. This guy's really fucking good and has a ton of potential. And man, as he realized it, I think the new entrance theme and the thing about Newman,
I didn't think it would be this good this quickly. Even when we said that this guy is going to be, we project him as being, I didn't really realize he was going to be this good this quickly. This guy is near the top of this company, and he's 23.
My take was always he has a real chance to be a television wrestler in pro wrestling and a major pro wrestling star. Now my take is, well, that's definitely going to happen. It's not that he has a chance. That's where he's headed. And I think that's obvious. The question now is how long can New Japan keep him around? That's always going to be the question now in this new world order that we have with the two American television companies and the arms race for talent. But yes, at 23, Newman has just taken, forget the work. If you're still arguing about his work, you're just completely lost.
It's over. You're done.
I have nothing left to say to you. You're completely lost. You're on another planet if you don't think this guy can go. That's been put to bed a long time ago. But his gigantic leaps and improvements in the way he carries himself, this motherfucker's dick enters the arena 5 minutes before he does, to steal, a phrase from Moneyball. The confidence he exudes, and it's not like it's pretend confidence. He just comes across like this super confident guy. And at 23, in a place like New Japan, which is, one of the hardest places to get over and one of the biggest promotions in the world, that says so much. The presentation is great. The new entrance music is great. He's a more than good enough worker to carry that end of it. And man, I don't know. To me, the guy's just an absolute lock to be on American TV sooner than later, and that's just the reality of it. It's not like I'm rooting for that. I'd like to see him stay in New Japan as long as possible and see this thing out. That's just not the way things go these days. But man, he's something special, and he got there even way faster than I thought he would. Yeah. And I was always super high on the ceiling. I thought the ceiling was... Yeah,
go ahead. No, I was going to say, you finish, and then I'll...
No, I'm pretty much done.
I was going to say that charisma and that confidence came a lot quicker than I thought it would. I thought the work would get there, and it would be like, all right, yeah, the work's there. Like the work that we're seeing from him now, I figured this was going to be what his where he was going to get. We saw it when he was 19. Yeah, he was a string bean, and he was 19 years old or whatever. But you could see that the work was there. I didn't think the confidence, the poise, the aura, the confidence, that I didn't see coming as much as it has. And that's really been like the last 6 months. It's just been like night and day difference. And you're like, holy shit, this guy's like carrying himself. That guy can grab the microphone after winning the New Japan Cup and cut a great promo and really just feel like the leader of the United Empire and feel like he belongs in a way that I never would have thought. If I told you a year ago, Calvin Newman's going to win the New Japan Cup, he's going to lead United Empire, and he's going to cut a promo afterwards, and it's going to rock, and he's going to feel like the biggest star in the company. Like, you would never, ever in a million years believe that, and it's here, and it's happened. So it's been a remarkable ascent, and it's why I think you gotta and I'm glad he's coming up now in this era of New Japan when they have the ability to push a guy like this. I hate when people say, oh, this guy's not ready, or that guy's not ready, or oh, it takes time, or it takes time. It doesn't really take that much fucking time. It takes reps, and it takes believing in a guy. Here's a guy who's 23 years old and who's already made leaps and bounds, monumental differences in his charisma and his promo ability and his confidence, all that stuff. It can happen so quick in wrestling. But it can only happen if you let it happen. Like, I love the term, you have to give luck a place to land, right? Like, you don't know that Callum Newman's going to get this, like, a mega, just lock it in, and he's going to be great at poise, and his charisma is going to be off the charts or whatever. But you got to fucking try. And for so long, and that was what's so frustrating about New Japan for me, is they didn't fucking try. There was 4 years where they didn't fucking try with any of these young guys and said, no, they're not ready. No, they're not ready. No, they're not ready. No, it's not yet. It's not yet. No, now's not the time or whatever. it can always be the time. You got to try.
Yeah.
You cannot be afraid to fail. You have to try.
Right in my notes, it says, see what happens when you push people?
Yes. It's so frustrating. That's what makes it even more
frustrating. This is what we
frustrating.
wanted for like 3 years. Look at Yota Tsuji and how he's doing, and look at Callum Newman. And, you could have done this when some of these other people were still around, and you actually could have used those people to put these guys over.
Right.
Is what you could have done. And you don't get the full use of that.
No, we have fucking Sonata as the champ. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what the fuck?
A total zilch who's going. You can't do anything with Sonata.
You know what you're going to get out of Sonata, right?
He's
you know
just
exactly.
a guy. And look, I feel bad saying this, but Zack Sabre Jr. is effectively the same thing.
Right.
Zack Sabre Jr. is never going to take off and become a massive pro wrestling star the way that Kazuchika Okada or Will Ospreay did. It's just not who he is. He's a star. He's a great wrestler. I'd have him on my roster in a second. I love Zack Sabre Jr. But the reality is that was a waste of time. You should have just pulled the trigger on these guys 2 years ago and used people like Zack Sabre Jr. to put them over. That's what you should have done. Because look what happens when you push people. And every time we talk about Callum Newman, I always circle it back to this. He's in his age 23 season. Rich, you're a sports fan. You know what I mean when I say that. When you talk about athletes, you talk about their age, insert here, season, right? Oh, there's a baseball player. He strikes out a lot. You know what, though? He's in his age 22 season when a lot of guys strike out a lot. Give him a couple. Let's see where he is in his age 27 season, right? Like, you understand what I say, but I'm explaining that to maybe our non-sports fan audience. Same thing in basketball, right? All those things. Look how good this guy is, and he's only 19. Think about how good he's going to be when he's 24. Callum Newman is in his age 23 season, and I've compared Callum Newman every step of the way to where he is versus where Will Ospreay was at the same age. And I think at one point, Callum Newman was way ahead of Will Ospreay. Then I think the gap closed, and Will Ospreay was a little bit ahead of Callum Newman at the same point. Rich, do you know where Will Ospreay was in his age 23 season?
Oh, God. What year? What year are we talking here?
Well, that's the whole point. Like, You want to try to take a stab at where Will Ospreay was in his career, in his age 23 season.
Will Ospreay was 23. I'm trying to think, because he's 31, 32 now. So
I'll tell you when it was. It was 2016. And that was when New Japan brought him in at Invasion Attack in 2016. It was his first half year in New Japan. And in Callum Newman's age 23 season, he's 3 years in and he just won the New Japan Cup, and he's going to have his second IWGP World title match. Now, to be fair, Will Ospreay came into a much more packed and star-filled New Japan than Callum Newman did. Okay? So they were able to slow roll Will Ospreay, start him off as a junior, let him find his footing, prove that he could mature. He was very immature at that time, as we all know.
Oh, yeah.
All of those things. Callum Newman has it more put together than Will Ospreay from that standpoint, at least outwardly. I don't know the guy, but at least outwardly, he doesn't get into the kooky messes that Will Ospreay was getting into
still
every 30 seconds when he was
sometimes getting involved in today, but less than they used to be.
Now, as a worker, Will Ospreay was better in 2016 than Callum Newman is in 2026.
Absolutely, yeah. By that point, he had the WrestleMania weekend match with Zack Sabre Jr. that I think is an all-timer, and yeah, the Ricochet match during Best of the Super Juniors, the Kushida match at what was that, Invasion Attack? Yeah, it was Invasion. No. What the fuck was that show? Kushida and Will had a Invasion. It was Invasion Attack. Yeah, at that point, Will's become a very, very good worker by this point. Still a very, very flippy, but a very, very good worker.
This wasn't the wrestler. He's not the wrestler he is today, and he didn't quite hit. I think around 2019 is when he had that 5 or 6 year stretch where he was, to me, unquestionably the best wrestler in the world. And I think the only thing that may even still be the case today, with injury only getting in the way. He wasn't quite there yet. He still had to refine some things with his selling and whatnot. But by 2016, Will Ospreay was, this guy's going to be the best wrestler in the world very soon. I can't say that about Callum Newman. I don't watch Callum Newman wrestle and think he's going to be the best wrestler in the world very soon. But when I watch Callum Newman, I see a guy who's excellent, who can be one of the best wrestlers in the world within the next few years. There's no question about that. Will is ahead of him, bell to bell, age 23 season. Callum Newman is way above Will in terms of his confidence, maybe not confidence. Will was always very confident. But in terms of his the way he carries himself, in terms of carrying yourself like a star, Newman is ahead of where Will Ospreay was in 2016.
Oh yeah, you could if New Japan wanted to put it's Courage Genesis. If New Japan wanted to put the title on Callum Newman, I don't think anybody would say, "Holy shit, what are they doing?" Like unbelievable. They were never going to put that title on Will Ospreay at that time. And it's not just the way obviously 2016 New Japan is in a much better place, but no, to your point, Will Ospreay was nowhere near ready for that spotlight. He was a junior, a best of the Super Junior, a top guy in Progress, a top guy in Rev Pro that era, but you'd never be a tippy top. Like never would New Japan give that guy a main event push or give him the world title at that time.
Now look, and again, I think that it's gone neck and neck when you look at them both at the same ages. There were times I thought Callum had inched ahead of Will. And then I think now we're getting to the age where Will just took off like a fucking rocket.
2016 is that exact year I'm going through his years right now, and that's the year where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy is really good.
Yeah, this guy's special. He's a potential Hall of Famer. He's going to be the best wrestler in the world, and he became the best wrestler in the world. But man, I think my overall point here is Callum Newman at age 23 is right in the ballpark of Will Ospreay at age 23, and I don't even think at this point it's a particularly controversial take, because when I had the same conversation with you when we did Callum Newman at 20 versus Will at 20, and then when we did Callum Newman at 21, it's like there was probably a portion of the audience that thought that we were nuts, even making the comparison. Does it sound crazy now? I don't think it does. I think they're relatively in the same, at least, neighborhood. They live in the same fucking neighborhood. You know, I live in the same neighborhood as the guy down the street, and then there's people who live in the fucking gated community, and I'm not in the same neighborhood as those, but these two are in the same neighborhood at the age 23.
For sure.
You know, so, and you know, the one thing about the match, I thought it was a really good match. What I didn't like, I thought there was a gratuitous and needless interference spot, and I don't think that the match needed it. It didn't even contribute to the finish.
You're talking about the final, New Japan Cup final?
Yeah. Newman versus Uemura, I'm talking about, the New Japan Cup final. Uemura kicked out of the Prince's Curse twice, I believe, and then Newman busted out a new finisher, which I think is a good thing to do in a match of this magnitude, right? Instead of just maybe doing it in a cork-in or something, in a tag, you do it here to put a guy away who you can't put away with something that normally puts other people away. I thought that was smart. And then Tsuji comes out for the face-off, and again, there was a buzz around that, and I think this is what happens, Rich, when you just fucking push people.
You gotta try. You gotta do it.
Just do it. And we've been screaming, just fucking do it. What are we waiting for? And you know what's sick? This motherfucker Gato is going to get away with it. Rich, he's going to get away with it. Because every time he does push one of these guys, it works. The whole fear was, you're going to fucking... People are you're gonna, what am I trying to say? Like, people are gonna lose faith.
Right.
Because you're gonna wait too long, or, they're gonna see him lose too much and all of this. But, they're doing decent business. It's working. This fucker's gonna get away with it. We're all gonna have to apologize to Gato. Now, with Tsuji, they established him right away when he came back. With Newman, he had that emergency title match when Jeff Cobb, whatever happened there, remember? So, they kind of, Newman had the early title match probably before he was supposed to, and now he's just taking these leaps in charisma and character. The test is going to be Shota Umino. But I see people turning around on Umino. Like you, I am not all the way there yet.
Yeah, the tenor's changed, but I'm not ready to get there yet.
I'm not there yet either. We might be the last ones to come around. If this fucker can get Shota Umino back over, because that's someone where he tried and it failed.
Yeah.
That's someone where he tried and it did fall on its face. Uemura and Oiwa, he hasn't really done it yet. Uemura, he's starting to get in the mix. And I think Uemura got as much out of this loss as maybe he would have out of even winning. He comes out of this smelling like roses because he was great in the match. They just went with the other guy. I wouldn't have had a problem going with either guy. This is one of those matches where it's like, do what you want. As long as it's a great match and both guys come across well, it doesn't fucking matter who you pick now. They pick Newman. Well, you know what? I'd pick the fucking Gaijin too because you don't know how long you're going to have him.
Another thing I always preach, especially in New Japan, is instead of saying, well, this guy's going to leave, so why bother? Well, no, just put the fucking title on him.
Get the most out of him.
And tell an 8-month story now. Now you have 8 months to figure out what you're going to do with Cal Newman.
Money with
and
him.
assume he's leaving and book the best 8 months you could possibly book with the guy.
Didn't we learn with Gabe Kidd? How hot was Gabe Kidd last year or the year before or whatever? And then they didn't fuck it. You know, they're like, they resigned themselves to he's leaving, so fuck it. We won't push him. You could have made some money off the guy, and you could have had him put one of these guys over on the way out.
And here's the other thing, too, and you and I preach this a lot, and people just don't seem to ever understand. This is why movement in wrestling is good, and why even if you like a wrestler, sometimes it's good for that wrestler to leave this company or leave that company or whatever. Look how much more exciting New Japan is with a bunch of these guys gone. Right? Like, you lose guys that are like, we have the safety net of a David Finlay, that we can always go back to a David Finlay or whatever. Now you don't have the safety net. All right, well then, fine.
We got to push Cal Newman now.
We got to push Cal Newman.
I don't know if Newman would be getting this push if Finlay didn't leave.
Right. 100%. I don't know. I'm not sure. And that's why, like, even if you like a guy, and even if you think a guy is good in this company, you should want movement in wrestling because it is good and it is exciting and it creates new opportunities for new people and new faces. I know people get real nervous about that because I want to watch this guy that I like and the company that I like or whatever. Yeah, sure, but whatever. And like I don't get hung up on stuff like that.
What did I say about Sonata and Finlay
right.
and the War Dogs and fucking Hiromu and all these guys? Evil. What did I say about
plugging
all of
it
them?
up? They were just plugging the whole thing up.
They're clogging the fucking drain. If you get these guys out of the way, you're getting nothing. You're getting nothing else out of these guys. What else are you getting out of Evil at this point? What else are you getting out of Hiromu or Sonata or David Finlay? You've squeezed every ounce of blood out of these motherfuckers. They're just clogging things up. And as soon as you clear the fucking drain, we get a great moment like this with these two guys.
Yeah, and we get the semifinals we got with 4 young wrestlers all vying to win the New Japan Cup.
You get the semifinal we got without the temptation of, we have to push Evil or David Finlay.
Right.
Which is getting you nowhere. Which is slowly seeing your business decline. The more you push these, or Zack Sabre Jr. or whoever. You know, it's this is what happens when you clear the fucking drain and you finally push people the way we have been saying that they should have been doing. And this fucker is going to get away with it. You watch, Rich. He's going to get away with it.
He may have already gotten there.
Yeah.
He may have already gotten away with it. But,
What did you think of the match? I talked about the match.
No, I liked it. I will say that my favorite match of the 3, and having just watched the semifinals and the finals, I thought Bolton Oleg or Oleg Bolton, whatever the fuck does not matter, and Yu Amura was fucking phenomenal. That is, God, was that a great match. And it was so much ground game and wrestling, and Bolton's another guy too that I'm like, dude, I don't know if they're pushing Bolton the way they are if they have all those guys like you're saying. You know, if they have that clogged drain, like you're saying,
there ain't no fucking way Bolton's in that semifinal.
And how
those guys
cool
are
was
still
Bolton getting that push? And Bolton, I think, is phenomenal. He's just he's unlike anything else. He has a different style about him than a lot of other wrestlers. He's so unique and so different. And you really want to watch Sonata and David Finlay again? Like
you want a rebel.
Yeah, you want a rebel. You want Yu Amura and David Finlay, or Yu Amura and Oleg Bolton?
You can't tell me that fucker wouldn't have been in this semifinal at minimum if he was still in the company.
For sure. 100%.
We'd fucking get rebel. We need a rebel.
Right.
Fucking, there's no doubt about it.
And then those guys go out there and have a match. You haven't seen a match like that in New Japan in years, where they're wrestling. They're on the mat, just going to town. You know, really just reversal. Like that was a match where, man, towards the end they obviously started throwing some bombs and had some big kickouts or whatever. But man, the first 8 minutes of that match was just them rolling on the mat and doing counter wrestling and all that. It was really, really cool. So I that match I liked a little bit better than the final. The final was good. Mm-hmm. Like I am still. I'm kind of arm's length still with New Japan. I still am. I need to see it a little bit longer. I need to see the vision a little bit longer to get there. So I'm not as emotionally connected to these guys just yet. Although I think now that the runway has probably been cleared enough that I don't have to worry about like House of Torture's doing their own shit in the undercard. Like I don't have to worry about the emergence of like Nick Nemeth's not coming out, right? Like Render Rita's not chat. Like
Nick Nemeth.
Feel like I'm all right, but I'm still a little nervous. I want to get through Sakura Genesis and then I'll feel a little bit better. But I'm still, it could still happen. Like there was a lot of times over the last 5 years where I've been really excited, and then the dagger through my heart. So I'm still a little apprehensive, but it feels like the runway is pretty clear here. But no, I thought the final was good. But I really that Bolton Oleg and Yu Mur match really hit me on a level where I was like, holy shit, that's it right there. I thought Umino and Callum was pretty good. But Umino's, I don't know. I'm still just not quite all the way there with Umino. But Newman and Yua was really good. And like I said, I think the correct story was Callum getting that win. And I think now you build up a great story of Yu Uemura going to that G1 and trying to win the G1, hopefully winning the G1, and then going to Wrestle Kingdom and conquering, getting that moment there. I think him losing was a way better story than him winning in this one. And Callum's the perfect guy to win because then he could just boast about it and be a bigger, I do like he asked Shota Umino if he wanted to be part of United Empire. Did you hear that? After he beat him, he said, "If green's your color, give me a call." So it's like that'd be a new coat of paint for Shota Umino, but I don't think he's going to take that.
I can't believe you pulled Nick Nemeth. You're not ready for more of the wanted man in New Japan. You don't want any of that.
Wanted man.
Wanted man.
You never know, right? You gotta be careful. But I feel like we're okay. But
God,
I think we're good. But
did you watch the rest of this show?
No. I'm not that back with New Japan just yet.
So you didn't see Huge take on Takeshita for the TV title in the opener as the mystery opponent.
No.
Yo, so you don't know what happened?
No,
here.
what happened here? What's going on?
So the Chase Owens comes out at first in his duster, from the Rio Grande to the Red River. And we think we're getting Chase Owens versus Konosuke Takeshita, which I'm morbidly fascinated by. I'm like, all right, I'll take a look.
I'll see what the Last Outlaw or the Texas Outlaw or whatever the fuck he calls himself.
Last Outlaw, you got it the first time. The Last Outlaw.
I thought that was Jeff Jarrett's name was the Last Outlaw.
He said the something outlaw, the Lone Star Outlaw, the Lone Star something. He's the Lone Star fucking 6-shooter. He's some shit.
I think he's the Lone Star Outlaw. I think it's something with Texas. It's
the Lone Star son because he goes from the Red River to the Rio Grande.
Do you identify the Lone Star? He's the Lone Star Outlaw. Do you, as a Texan, a dyed-in-the-wool Texan, do you consider Chase Owens one of your own?
No, I consider him one of the weird Tennessee guys that would come down here and he would face the fucking guy that looked like Dalsim from Street Fighter all the time. What the fuck was that guy's name? It was his opponent that he wrestled on the Indies 1,000 times. And
Dalsim.
Yeah, no, Jason Kincaid. Remember? Kincaid. He looked like Dalsim.
I was trying to see, but you're right. I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? But you actually nailed it with Jason Kincaid. Yeah,
that's who he looked at. He looked like fucking Dalsim with the fucking stretchy arms.
Yeah.
Fucking. So no, I don't consider him. I know he lives here now and all that. But anyway, the Lone Star Outlaw comes out, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, here comes a challenger, right? But then Huge comes out and he's like, "Oh, hold on, Lone Star Outlaw. Maybe I want to take
the Tokyo Pimp was Peter there, or not Peter? Who was his? Was this Peter?
I don't know, Peter and fucking Bunny. What was the fucking Peter and Bunny or Peter and
I forget. Did he have Bunny or Peter? I forget who.
Peter and what was the other one's name? The one that came out with Taichi.
Yeah. I forget her name. Yeah. Abe or whatever. Wasn't her name Abe or something like that?
Miho Abe?
Yeah, Miho Abe.
Like
I definitely remember Peter had the great Twitter account, Muffin Ass.
At Muffin Ass, yeah.
It was like Muffin Ass with some number. It was like Muffin Ass 087 or something like that. But at Muffin Ass.
She had a Muffin Ass. She very much had a muffin ass.
Undeniable.
Ass.
Peter had a Muffin Ass, indeed.
Oh, Bad Luck Fale was tapping that shit. Remember? That was his girl.
Was he really?
Fale. Yes, they were a thing. They were a thing. Picture them having sex.
Nah, no, I don't really want to, man.
That's a big hulking man.
That's a lot of man, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a lot of man for that muffin ass. So I guess a muffin ass requires a man of such girth.
She was climbing that mountain. She was, pin me, pay me, fucking bad luck, folly. Whatever happened to Peter?
I don't know. Yeah, probably just selling. She probably sells her wares online for dollars, I would imagine. Or she got a job in an office. Maybe she's an accountant now, but I don't know what's up to with Peter.
Okay, well, anyway.
Or Miho, I have no idea what Miho Abe is doing either. So
no, me neither. Like, didn't Taichi like made her cry again, and then she just disappeared, and that was that.
All right, Muffin 03. Okay, it's Muffin 030 ass is Peter. She has in her profile it says dancer, so she's a dancer. Let's see.
Dancer.
Yeah, she's just, okay. I don't know what she's doing these days. Yeah.
Of the exotic variety, perhaps?
It doesn't look that exotic. No, it looks like she maybe cleaned her image up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, I know they sell panties in vending machines in Japan. And I know that in Japan, they also are huge on fuck pillows of cartoon characters and things like that, right? Like, you can get a pillow with your favorite cartoon lady that you can grind on.
Yeah, your waifu. Yeah. Your
right.
Waifu pillow,
your wafu or whatever the fuck of like Betty Boop or whatever the hell they do over there, the cartoon characters.
The Powerpuff Girls. And, whichever your favorite Powerpuff Girl is, yeah, you can get it.
Right. And you can get the used panties in the vending machines. But do they have strip clubs in Japan? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
In Roppongi,
Oh, yeah. In Roppongi for sure. Yeah.
In Roppongi, do they have strip clubs?
I'm pretty sure
that
they
a
still
thing
have strip clubs. Yeah,
they do. Okay,
they do. They have maid cafes as well. I know one of my friends from work.
Oh, that's right.
Went to a maid cafe when he went to Japan.
So they have strip clubs and maid cafes and panties in fucking dispensers and fuck pillows, but they pixelate their porn. Please make that make sense. Like, they won't show penetration in their porn, but they do all of this other perverted shit. I don't get it. It doesn't add up.
It's weird. It's a weird society. It's a very weird sexual society. Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah, I don't. Listen, you're either open or you're not. I feel like you can't be half a gangster, Rich, is what I'm saying here. And I feel like in those terms, that's what's going on in Japan. So anyway, Huge came out without Peter. And he's like, no, you know what? I think I want to take a crack. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe Huge has a Miami Shine with Konosuke Takeshi's name on it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm in.
And maybe we could have ourselves a New Japan World Television Champion.
I mean, that's Yujiro's. He's an accomplished professional wrestler. This is not, don't get it twisted. This man is a, former tag champ, right? I mean, this is a big time player here. No Limit.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. That was a long time ago, but I mean, that's
big time tag team.
Yeah. I mean, this is an accomplished professional wrestler. This
guy has scored dozens of points collectively across like 12 G1s.
Right. Did he go?
So
yeah, he had 2 points for a lot of years, but combine them, it's pretty good.
But he scored enough points collectively to maybe win a block one of those years. So he's, this guy's a player. So they get into the ring. And they decide who's going to take on Takeshita is like pointing. He's confused. He's like, is it you? Is it you? Who am I facing here? And they did the old rock, paper, scissors to determine who was going to get this match. And Huge was the winner. And he took on Takeshita in what was the biggest and best Yujiro match I have seen in ages. So congratulations, Yujiro. This is
I should probably watch this then. I should probably watch. What's the other contender?
Let's not go that far. Okay. This is what I would describe as a good TV style match. So, it's like if this were on Dynamite, you'd forget about it as soon as it ended. But that's kind of the point, though, right? It's the fucking TV title.
Right.
So it should be an 8-minute fucking TV match, and that's what it was.
So Williams, the chat room wrote, Yujiro defeats Takeshita, 11-21, pimp juice.
Yes.
That would have been great. Yes.
Yeah, I went with Miami Shine, but the pimp juice works too. That definitely works too. I love his thing. He doesn't come out to the fucking saxophone theme, though.
No, he's a changed man.
That was always a high. He'd have the cane and the saxophone and that shitty grin on his face.
Good hat too. Yeah.
Peter, and it was he'll be there forever. So Despi scores the fall. Despi, Yasuda, and Taichi over Goto, Matsumoto, and Yoshihashi. He obviously scores the fall over the Young Lion. And then it was Doki, Sho, and Kanemaru. Doki scores the fall over Taguchi. It was Yato, Taguchi, and Yo. So Doki, obviously, who's being pushed right now. He scores the fall in that one. None of these matches are anything of note, by the way. So we got to get to All Japan. Hanare with the full Nelson on Hanma as Hanare and Great Okan defeat Shota Umino and Tomoaki, the rotting husk of Tomoaki Hanma defeats him with the he calls it the Ultima, doesn't he? His full Nelson. Why am I asking you? Like,
I'm a move guy. Yeah, I know almost as little as you.
Akira's push continues as he submits Taiji Ishimori. Akira, Jake Lee, Jacob Austin Young over Drilla Maloney, Shingo Takagi, and Taiji Ishimori. I have a take for you. If I were Tony Khan, I would have hired Drilla Maloney instead of David Finlay.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, he fits the vibe of. I don't think Finlay fits the vibe of this Gabe Kidd Clark Connors current dogs thing, but Drilla does, right?
Yeah.
He's got that, because those guys have, like Clark Connors, let's be honest, the man has palpable sexual energy, right? There's a lot of sexual energy just coming through He does, right?
Whoa!
And then Gabe's got this aggressive
This
energy.
is not a horny podcast.
But hear me out here.
Okay. All right.
Gabe's also got this weird, I don't know what the fuck that guy's into, but I don't want to know. Whatever he's into, whatever, if it makes him happy and it's consensual, knock yourself out, pal. And Drilla kind of fits that same vibe. Those guys have a very, very aggressive energy about him. I'll be honest, Finlay comes out and it's just wow. It's the guy, they're friends with this guy and they've been friends for a while. So it's yeah, do you mind if David hangs around? And they're I guess, yeah. But I don't know. It doesn't, he doesn't, I think Drilla would fit 1,000 times better in the current dogs than, Finlay ain't no dog, right? Gabe's a dog. Clark Connors is obviously a dog.
Yeah.
Drilla is a dog. Finlay ain't a dog.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, he was a dog in New Japan, but I hear what you're saying. He was a war dog in New Japan.
Yeah. These are the dogs. Yeah, these are
dogs.
Yeah, right.
These are guys with palpable sexual energy.
Yes, and, right. I'm not wrong. Think about it. Those guys have palpable sexual energy in different ways. And Drilla has that as well. David Finlay has no sexual energy. Zero. Zilch.
Really? He zero sexual energy.
I don't think he comes across as having sexual energy on television. No.
He's got kids. We know he fucks.
No, I know he fucks. No, there's a difference between fucking and having sexual energy.
Sexual energy.
Clark Connors, that's sexual energy right there. That man with those shades and that hair and the flames, that's it right there.
You seem very horny for Clark Connors.
I'm just stating the facts.
You just think he has heavy sexual energy.
Yes. And Gabe also has, but way more weird sexual energy, right?
Could you imagine what Clark Connors and Tekla get into?
That's what I'm saying.
Even imagine
Tekla, another. She might not be she has palpable sexual energy as well, even though that's not exactly her gimmick,
right?
But it's obvious. You could just see the sexual energy out of Tekla.
I know, believe me,
right?
Little power exchange. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean. I hear you. I'm saying what Tekla and Clark Connors must get into would probably even make me blush. I hear what you're saying. So I'm following your logic. I would have hired Drilla over David Finlay because I have to think he would have came a little cheaper too, right?
I'm sure.
Drilla?
Yeah, I'm sure.
The Drilla? Although, Finlay didn't get the monster offer.
I was going to say, maybe not, yeah.
So, man, you really threw me for a loop there. I forgot where I left off.
You're just thinking about Clark Connors' palpable sexual energy, and I get it.
I'm thinking what I mean.
Yeah, you're thinking about what him and the missus get into. Yeah,
I want to know what's in their top drawer. Is what I'm thinking about.
I don't think you do.
What's in their top drawer?
I don't. Maybe you do. I do not want to know what's in their top drawer. So, Finley's got my sexual energy, which is very not palpable sexual energy at all, and that's okay. It's all right. Still get it done. I got kids too. It's
functional sexual energy.
Like, I get it done, but it's not like you don't see me walk down the street and go, whoa, look at that guy. Like, it just doesn't happen. And that's all right. You don't think, what's in that guy's top drawer, right? You're like, I don't know. Does he have a top? He doesn't. He really doesn't. Yeah.
Some expired condoms in a KY jelly tube. That's about it. Because I nailed it. That's why you're
laughing. These are expired or not. Oh, they are. Oh, well, not tonight then, I guess.
And a half-used tube of KY. That's it. That's the crate's top drawer.
Right.
Oh God.
That's okay. It's all right.
And a roll of electrical tape, but not for that.
Yeah, just for an unrelated reason. Just because the door has got some problems. The lock on the door doesn't quite,
Oh God. Tekla's got industrial police grade handcuffs. You have the fuzzy novelty kind. That's
right.
That's
and
the
only
difference.
because my wife was gifted them during her bachelorette party, and then they went directly into that drawer and have never been touched ever. Occasionally, I'll be like, She's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. All right, then we just continue our normal.
She pulls him out. She's like, come here. Hands behind your back. You're like, Tekla, are you sure you have the key? She's like, there is no key. And it's, what do you mean key? With her Rutger Hauer voice? Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, you get the fuzzy kind that don't require a key. You just,
No, they just could be removed easily. Yeah.
You just pull them open.
No safe word needed for those things. You can just take them off. You just slide them off. Whenever you want to, just take them off. Like, here, does Finley have a safe word? Finley does not have a safe word.
Nah, yeah,
Clark Connors has a safe word, right? You better.
I mean, they might operate without one. I don't know.
It's possible they're so beyond the fringes.
They might have just gone beyond the use of a safe
word. But Drilla feels like a guy who's probably got a safe word too, right?
I would hope a lady would have a safe word with the Drilla. He seems, everybody's got to be safe.
Does Finley?
I don't know if Finley needs one.
That's what I mean.
It's that gentle missionary that
right. It's functional. It gets the job
right.
done. It's
functional. You know how the process works, and you just get it done. And
I mean, you might still enjoy it. It's not it's still a fun, but it's not. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Okay, I'm sure you enjoy it.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about David Finley.
Maybe not true. I mean,
okay. Well.
Do the socks come off at least? I mean,
Oh, yeah, of course. Come on.
Oh, all right. Well, excuse me. It's maybe you're just saving yourself time for the aftermath. So you have to put them back on. All right. Next up,
oh, fucking. I'm looking at the next match. Knock yourself out. Yeah, try to transition to this, whatever the fuck this match is. It looked terrible. I'm sure it's
How's
horrible.
Aaron Wolf's sexual energy?
It's fucking awful. Terrible.
Okay. No, okay. So that's just... Aaron Wolf kind of has virgin sexual energy.
Yes. Well, with his fucking virgin-ass friends that he has, too. Well, although those guys fuck, but they don't, like... Not Oleg. Olsen's fine. But... Like, Oleg's just too busy training. Like, he doesn't even focus on it. He's just...
Aaron Wolf has Valsal sexual energy.
All right, well, that's it for us. I think we're out of time on the Flagship.
Remember someone on Twitter called us the Valsals of wrestling?
Yes, of course.
And I was like, wait a minute, is that even an insult? Maybe I'm saving myself for the right one. I don't know why that's so bad.
Yeah, that hits different than Virgins of Wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, Virgins of Wrestling, you're like, whatever. But this guy went deep. It was like, whoa, all right. That was always a good one. We have a list of them. They're always pretty good. Yeah.
Fossils of Wrestling.
Yeah, Virgins of Wrestling is the worst. Try a different one. I always like Voices of Weasels, which doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the attempt at more like voices of weasels, and I'm like, what?
And more than one person has used that.
Yeah.
That's like a popular. They always go with voices of weasels. I don't know. Aaron Wolf, Oleg Boltin, and Toru Yano defeat Dick Togo, Don Fale, and Ren Narita. My only notes for this say dumb match. So I don't remember who beat who or anything like that. And I didn't jot it down. It just says dumb match, as you would imagine.
Yeah, sounds fun.
And then TMDK over the jeans store in the mall, Unbound Co. This was the notes I have don't make.
Nagai,
Yuto Ice.
Oscar, Suji, and Yuto Ice.
They were right. They were Old Navy in this case, and my notes say
they were Buckle in this match.
right. Yuto Ice cut an impassioned promo after this one. I don't remember it's been so long since I watched it that I don't. This is a horrible review at this point. So
I think it's been a great review.
Time to move on to All Japan. I got to try to keep it together to give a professional
yes
review of the happenings in well, not Shin. We just did Shin Nihon. This is the other Nihon. What's the
what is the Nihon of All Japan? I don't know. Yeah.
Hold on. I used to because Davey Boy Smith used to say it. I love what did he say?
I always forget he was here.
I love Zen Nihon. Zen Nihon.
Yeah, I think it was Zen Nihon, yeah.
I love Zen Nihon. With all of the charisma of,
Yeah.
There's Shin Nihon. Are you a Shin Nihon freak?
He used to be a listener. I don't know if he still listens anymore. Is he still watching New Japan?
No, I love that Joel still uses that.
Yes,
like,
he does. Yes.
Are you a Shin Nihon freak?
New Japan rap guy. I hope he's still watching. I don't know what he's up to these days. But.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at.
He used to check in. We would mention him, and then he would check in. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm listening, guys. I'm still here." So I don't know.
Maybe he's in the chat. Is the New Japan rap guy in the chat? Is he in the chat? No? Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll give it a minute. Maybe he's in the chat. We'll just hold the show off until someone answers.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
All right. So I watched the 3:15 All Japan show, and then, of course, the 3:21 All Japan show, or 3:20 New Japan show. Did you watch either one of these shows? You watched the 3:20?
So I watched a good amount of 3:20. I did not watch any of the 3:21 you said? Or 3:15? 3:15?
3:15.
3:15. Yeah. I saw none of 3:15, no.
Okay, well, I'll run through it because they did a lot of stuff to set up 3:21. So Mazada defeats Shota Kofuji, the young boy, with a crafty veteran inside cradle. It left me nodding. I'm like, all right, you know what? I like that finish. I like the sleazy Mazada beating this guy with a crafty veteran inside cradle. We had Havoc, Go Shiozaki, Odyssey, Shotaro Ashino, and Zion. And they defeated Hokuto Omori, Kota Sekafuda, Naruki Doi, and Sakuda. The one thing is Havoc is really beginning to refine this act. They've got this new entrance where the lights flash. They each go up into a corner. I just feel like they're starting to gel more as a unit, and it's more. Whereas before it was just these four guys would come out with the same colors and the face paint.
Yeah, they had matching shirts and face paint or whatever, but it didn't feel like a group.
Yeah, they're really beginning to refine their act, and they won here. And the more, Hokuto Omori can't lose enough. I mean, I've got no problem with that. Daisuke Sekimoto, Kuma Arashi, Masayuki Kono, and Masayuki Kono, and Seigo Tachibana over Kento Miyahara, Musashi, Ryuki Honda, and Yuma Anzai. So Arashi pins Honda because he's getting the title shot a few days later, right? 5 days later, he gets the pin. But then they did a post-match angle where he did a top rope senton and laid out Kento Miyahara. You don't often get angles like that in promotions like this. And the crowd gasped and oohed and awed. And I thought that it was an effective way. And they were in Korakuen Hall. So it was a good way to put a little heat on a match that I don't think anyone thought Kuma Arashi had any realistic chance of winning, but it was a nice spot. The Junior Tag Festival semifinals, Mochizuki Jr. and Ryu Inoue over Dan Tamura and Hikaru Sato. I was rooting for my boy Dan Tamura, but I had a feeling the outsider, Mochizuki was going to win. Rugged match, and Mochizuki Jr. and Inoue advance. 3-star, gentlemen's 3 on that one. Atsuki Aoyagi and Rising Hayato over Saiki Yoshiyuki and Yuya Susumu. Look, I thought this was bad and sloppy in spots. I didn't like it. I'm out on Rising Hayato again. I was out on him, then I was in on him, and now I'm out on him again. So I've had enough of Rising Hayato. I'll probably change my mind again at some point. And then we had the tag team title match. Titans of Calamity against the Saitos. They love to main event Korakuen Hall with the Saitos. And they did it here again. World Tag Team title, All Japan World Tag Team title match. Titans of Calamity successfully defend. And they defeat the Saito brothers. Look, was this the Midnight Express versus the Fantastics, Rich Craich? No, it was not. But was it fine for what it was with the 4 big guys? Well, the 3 big guys and then whatever the fuck Renayabe is, slapping meat. It was fine. And I'm glad the Titans of Calamity won. I like this little title reign that they're having, and this feud would continue on the show with the Triple Crown title match, where I believe you should now be ready to jump back in. So I guess we'll start with the Triple Crown match. I think I'm muted. I'm either muted by Rich Craich, who's dealing with something over there, or I have been talking for the last 5 minutes and nobody's listening to me. So I am going to wait for a sign of life from the chat to just let me know that everybody can at least hear me. And I will soldier on with the All Japan show from 320 until Rich Craich is able to jump back in and join me and review this Triple Crown match between Kuma Arashi and Kento Miyahara. So, all right. So here we go. I am told that we can still hear me, so I don't know what's going on, Rich Craich. I will go through the 320 show, and hopefully he will be back in time to discuss the Triple Crown match with me. Ryuki Honda and Yuma Anzai. Yuma Anzai returns for this one. They defeat Hokuto Omori and Yuma Aoyagi. Again, Hokuto Omori cannot lose enough, so I'm fine with this result. I can't stand him. Honda pinned Omori in this one, so he took the fall as well. Yuma Aoyagi, I haven't been into him for probably about a year or two. I'm out on that guy right now also. So Yuma Anzai, you just get the sense that it's a matter of time before they flip the switch and give him the big push again. And for Honda, he took the pin on the 15th from Kuma Arashi, so it was nice to see him back on the winning side, and they're kind of giving him his heat back there. The Nairuki Doi and Senior Saito. Senior Saito, of course, is Mazada doing the Senior Saito gimmick. They defeat Sekafuda and Sakuda. I don't have any notes on that nonsense. Now, here's what's interesting. The Titans of Calamity beat the Saitos in Korakuen, and then they come back on this show, and they have 2 singles matches. Talos versus Jun Saito, and Renayabe versus Rai Saito. And the Titans of Calamity win both of those matches too, which very much surprised me. When Talos beat Jun, I thought for sure that other Saito was going to beat Renayabe, but they didn't do that. So the Titans of Calamity, they're just out here dominating the Saitos, which is a very interesting way to book this. Think of the momentum that the Titans of Calamity have going into the Crockett Cup. These guys are going to win the Crockett Cup. This isn't like when Giant Baba and Tiger Mask Masawa went into the Crockett Cup and got the bye and then ended up not winning. I think the Titans of Calamity are going to win this fucking thing. You think All Japan's going to send these guys over there as the tag team champions and then have them job out to fucking Daisy Kill and fucking Cooter? Whatever the fuck his name is. Earl Cooter? Whatever he wrestles as now. They might win the fucking thing. So, they're dominating the Saitos. They're going to go in the Crockett Cup as a ball of momentum. And away we go. I think Rich Kraetsch is back.
I'm back. I'm back. Yep.
Let me go through the rest of this, and then we'll talk about the main event, which I assume is the only match that you saw. So Dan Tamura, Fuminari Abe, Musashi, and Yuya Susumu defeat Hikaru Sato, Tachibana, Yoshioka, and Kofuji. It was Dan Tamura challenging Tachibana for the junior title after this one. So that was the point of this 8-man tag to set up the next junior title match. We had Havoc. This time they were on the losing side. They lose to Daisuke Sekimoto, Hideki Suzuki, Kengo Mishimo, and Suwama. A bunch of those dudes, all those dudes, in fact, are going to be in the Champion Carnival. I don't know if we want to go over those blocks real quick before we.
Oh yeah, let me fire that up. I should do
go ahead and pull that up while I'm talking about this shit. So, one thing about Odyssey, he does a double side suplex, and he did it in this match to Hideki Suzuki and Kengo Mishimo. Those are not small men.
Those are big ass dudes, man. Jesus.
Those are not small men, and Odyssey gets them up and does like a double side suplex gimmick, but Havoc splits their 2 tags on these 2 shows. I talked about Ren Yabe beating Saito number 2 already, and the dominance of the Titans of Calamity. The Junior Tag Festival final, we had Atsuki Aoyagi and Rising Hayato. They win. They defeat Mochizuki Jr. and Ryu Inoue. While you had me on mute, I talked about how I'm out on Rising Hayato again. I was out on him, then I was in, now I'm out on him.
You're out again?
I'm out.
Well, that's fine.
Again. And then that brings us to the Triple Crown match. Kento Miyahara successfully defends against Kuma Arashi. The story coming in was Kuma Arashi was representing the spirit of Wrestle 1. He came to the ring with all of his Wrestle 1 boys, and not just the baby faces. Even Ashino came out in his Havoc gear, and the crowd enjoyed that. Even Sotero Ashino was going to back up the Wrestle 1 dude here. So he was fighting for the spirit of Wrestle 1. So that was kind of the story here. And I got to say, the match didn't really land for me. I thought it was average and dry.
Like it at all. I didn't like it at all. Yeah.
Well, I've done a lot of talking, so you go first.
Yeah, I'll take over here. But I think like Kento's had this run that Kento's been on, this Triple Crown run that he's been on. He's been facing a lot of like the lower tier guys. Like he had that Talos match. And that would be, you would probably consider Talos a lower tier guy in terms of All Japan. But I really liked that match. I thought that was a fun way to kind of tell this story of a big man versus Kento Miyahara, and Kento trying to get the guy up and put him in the straitjacket German or whatever. And yeah, Kento has a match type that he likes to stick to a lot of times, and sometimes it works a little bit better than others. And this Talos match was a little different because like he had the match with Yuma Anzai before that, and that was great. That was like the New Year's Eve match, and it was fucking phenomenal. Like really, really good title defense, and the best of Kento Miyahara. Then he came back, in January and does this match with Talos, which was very different than Yuma Anzai, and it's a much more different match, and Talos is working as a monster. And I'm like, all right, it's maybe not the best match I've ever seen Kento Miyahara have, and it's clearly not better than the Yuma Anzai match, but at least it was a different attempt and a different style, and then, all right, cool. So it wasn't great, but it was fun, and it was interesting. I like that match. Then it came back with Jun Saito in February, and I did not like the Jun Saito match either, because I think Jun Saito kind of stinks, and I'm kind of over the Saitos, and just that match I just thought was really slow and really boring, and just didn't quite, it was the same style of match. Okay, we have a monster against Kento, so Kento's got to fight through the monster to try to put him in the straitjacket German or whatever. Okay, fine. Then he comes here in this Kumarashi match, and he's kind of just doing the same thing again that he was doing, where Kumarashi's taking a lot of the match, and he's the big monster, and Kento Miyahara's got to try to get him in the straitjacket German or whatever. And there's, that's the basis of most Kento Miyahara matches, is he's got to get the guy in the straitjacket German and do it. But I thought Kumarashi just didn't deliver his end of the bargain at all. I thought he looked pretty bad, honestly, during a lot of this match. I felt like he got blown up halfway through the match too, and couldn't really go. And I was all for Kumarashi having this title match and having this title defense. And I think it's interesting to try different guys in this spot, but yeah, it just didn't land with me. It was very slow. Just didn't really feel like it got going on any level, and Kumarashi just did not feel like he rose to the occasion whatsoever. And Kento, I feel like he kind of knew that this wasn't going well either, so he just kind of half-assed it as well. So I don't know. This was to me a big miss for Kento, and a big miss in this Triple Crown title reign that he's had. And we'll see if he can get it back on track soon. But yeah, it's just, this is why a guy like Kumarashi is not in this position a lot. You know what I mean? And that's why I appreciate Kento's trying different guys in these spots, and All Japan's trying different guys in these spots, so you don't have to go right back to Yuma Anzai and go right back to the tippy top guys. They have to do another Suwama match or whatever. You want to try some different guys in the spot, but yeah, Kumarashi he wasn't any good in this match, and Kento was just kind of working to his opponent too, working down to his opponent is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, dry match, very average. Crowd wasn't very much into it either. So.
No.
Now look, Kento hasn't exactly been facing the 4 pillars of heaven in this title reign, so we got to cut him a break from that standpoint, as you laid out and noted.
Yeah, he had Kuto Amori and Talos and Kumarashi, and it's been rough.
Yeah, when do we get? We got to get Yuma Anzai in there. We got to get some of these guys that he could have a great match with. So we'll see what happens with the Champion Carnival. Which the blocks and the matchups and the dates have been announced. We have those blocks available.
I have the blocks ready to go. And people might be saying, why are you guys not talking about Sakura Genesis when you did New Japan? Well, that is on the 4th, so we can actually preview that next week. So there's no point in doing Sakura Genesis right now. So we'll do that next week. But Champion Carnival blocks, it begins April 12th. You have A block, Rei Saito versus Kento Miyahara, Go Shiozaki, Yuma Anzai, Kumarashi, Kengo Mishimo, Talos, and Odyssey. So we're going to get another Kento Go match, which is cool. We're going to get a Kento Yuma Anzai match, which is cool. The rest of the block, it's Odyssey's there too.
Go versus Anzai.
Yeah. Go versus Anzai. That should be great. Yeah.
Kengo Mishimo was very good last year in the Carnival. And obviously one of the side, they split the Saitos up.
And Talos, I have a soft spot for Talos. I think he's pretty good. So I think a Talos versus Go Shiozaki might be kind of fun. I think Talos versus Yuma Anzai might be a little bit of fun.
We get the Talos Kento Miyahara rematch.
Yeah. B block. Oh boy. Hideki Suzuki, Ren Ayabe, Jun Saito, Ryuki Honda, Daisuke Sakamoto, Madoka Kakuta coming over from Dragon Gate, Zion and Cyrus. Ooh, yikes. Oof.
Well, Kakuta was very good last year.
Yeah.
Remember he was in that block with Mike D. Vecchio and
yeah. You know what? Kakuta kind of belongs in All Japan. I'm going to trade him. I don't know. I don't know what. I forget what he's doing in Dragon.
Close your ears, Case. Close your ears.
Yeah, I think he needs to get traded to All Japan. They could use him here.
Yeah.
Hideki Suzuki versus Ren Ayabe. That doesn't sound very fun. Hideki Suzuki versus Cyrus. I don't know about this block. Ren Ayabe versus Zion. That's oof.
B block is it's not great. They didn't really balance these in terms of
no.
But they look at it from a booking standpoint, though. That's the thing. But even from that standpoint, I feel like the star power is all in A block too.
All the recent title defenses that we just talked about are all in the A block.
And the bigger stars like Yuma Anzai, Go Shiozaki. It's a weird split for sure with this Champion Carnival.
Just have Sakamoto win, I guess, right? Why not?
B block, you mean?
Yeah, why not?
Fucker couldn't even win the Z1 strongest tournament. You want to put him through
he's more familiar with these guys, a little bit better.
I think Go should beat Kento to win the block and then beat whatever scrub comes out of the B block and then face Kento next.
Yeah, we're due for another because they had that one match when Go first came in. And remember, it was really weird, and we were like, "Is Go done already?" Because he was shaking hands with him and stuff. But I think we're ready now with Go being a little bit more comfortable in All Japan, a little bit more comfortable with Havoc. I think we're that's if I was booking, Go's going through and he's winning and he's challenging Kento for the title. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Is Kakuta really the Dreamgate champion right now?
I don't know if he is. Oh, he is. Huh.
That is interesting from a booking.
I guess he can't take a whole lot of losses, right? Or
here's the thing. Dragon Gate never cares about that.
Yeah. I forgot he was the current Dreamgate champion.
Think about this. He's going to have to eat at least a couple L's in that block, and he's the Dreamgate champion.
Yeah, shit.
Your Dreamgate champion is going to drop a match in a village in front of 400 people.
To Ren Ayabe.
Right? I mean, that's going to happen. So
Zion, who
Yeah.
I think now deserves a Open the Dream Gate championship match in Dragon Gate. So you got to bring in Zion,
Right,
you got to bring in Rene
Zion.
Abe, you got to bring in Cyrus maybe for a shot. That's it. I forgot he was the current Dream Gate. Yeah, I've been kind of out on Dragon Gate for a while, so I'm up on the current.
Yeah, finally
State.
seeing things my way.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I wonder if the Titans of Calamity will continue their dominance over the Saitos and beat them again. After
Are you
beating
gonna,
them,
are you going to go? I forget what's it, a 3-hour drive? Are you going to drive 3 hours to go see the Titans of Calamity in
I
your
don't have
your
to.
backyard, Dallas,
I
Texas?
I will be in Dallas that weekend anyway.
Perfect.
Well, no, I'll be at the Reds Rangers
Oh.
series.
Are they playing night games or day games?
Which day?
When is the Crockett Cup? Yes, yes. The Titans of Calamity are in the NWA Crockett Cup, and I have to.
While you were muted, I went over all this already.
Oh, okay. April 4th.
So-
April 4th is the Crockett Cup.
April 4th. All right, let me pull up my MLB ballpark app and
Yeah.
pull up my tickets here. No, it's a night game.
Shit. All right.
I can't abandon my family to go watch
Sure you can't.
the Crockett Cup
To
anyway.
watch the
I
Crockett.
can't.
You can. Is your boy that gave you the Crockett Cup shirt? Is he still around in NWA? I don't even know if he is anymore.
Of course he is.
Okay. Well, you could catch up with him. Watch
Isn't
the
the
Pope.
Wham? The
Bring the
Pope.
kids. I think the Good Brothers are going to be there. Bring the kids. Come on.
By the way, when I said Earl Cooter earlier, I meant Brian Idol.
Common mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's why you talked about Cooter. Okay, because in the chat room someone said Cooter, and I'm like, what the fuck happened when I was gone?
Yeah, Brian Idol.
Okay.
Brian Idol.
Yeah, you got Brian Idol. You got the frickin' what's his face, the champ, Thrillbilly Silas. It's family fun. Come on, the whole family can. But I guess you got a night game, so it's all right. I was hoping they had a day game, and you could try to get out to check out the Titans of Calamity live and in the flesh. I mean, Rene Abe is going to be like minutes from you, and you're not going to see him. It boggles my mind, but okay.
Well, they have to win that fucking thing. They're the tag champs.
Do you think they care?
Well, then prepare to lose to Daisy Kill and fucking Earl Cooter then, because
The Pope and whoever the Pope is teaming with. The Crockett Cup.
Why you keep saying the Pope? I don't think the Pope is
No,
there.
the Pope's there. Of course he's there. Are you kidding me?
All right.
The Pope is there. I'm looking at him right now on the graphic.
Okay.
I don't know
Well,
who
no,
he's with, but let me see. Do we have the Crockett Cup lineup? Do you think they have it anywhere? Do you think like the NW? Do they even have a website that would have the whole Crockett Cup lineup? I feel like they have a probably a good website, but I don't know if they have the whole. They do. Big Strong Mims and the Pope. So yeah, I keep the Colognes, Primo and Epico are going to be there.
ROH Superstars, the Colognes?
Yeah, yeah.
You say? They're gonna
Izzy
be there?
James, you love Izzy James. He'll be there.
I like Izzy James
Yeah.
to some degree. I don't know if love's a strong word, but to some degree, I enjoy his
okay.
work.
All right,
Yes.
all right. Knox and Murdoch will be there.
Monday Magic Star, Izzy James.
Yeah. Big Strong Mims and the Pope are going to be there.
Well, the Titans of Calamity have to win that. That's embarrassing if they don't win that. And they come back to All Japan.
They're not going to win the Crockett Cup. You think Talos and Rene Abe are going to win the Crockett Cup?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All my money. See if I get odds on that.
Is my bookie taking action on the Crockett Cup?
I'll take a look.
Yeah. I don't think you have to look very far, but yeah. Tom Latimer will be there.
Well, he can't be anywhere else. So.
Right. Where else would he be? But
assume
Pretty
he'd be
Empowered, Kenzie Page and Kylie Page are going to be. I don't know if they're going to be in the Crockett Cup, but they're going to be there.
Oh, I hope it's not intergender.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Intergender is the shits.
The Slime Balls with a Z are going to be there.
I used to say intergender was the shits when it was dangerous to say.
Yeah. More
No
people
one
are on your
cares
side.
anymore.
No,
but
no one cares anymore.
But I said it in like peak woke of like 2014.
That
How
was every
dangerous it
time
was
you would
to
do
say.
this. Every time you would do this, the Twitter would be a disaster
Oh my God. Yeah.
for like 24 straight hours. I'd have to just be like,
Yeah.
God damn it! Like,
Joe, shut the fuck up.
Right? You're like, it's not believable. I can't. If you believe it, that's fine for you. But for me, it doesn't. I can't watch Hiroki Goto have a match with Tomohiro Ishii and think it's the same as watching Kimberly versus whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Very reasonable takes.
Right. It'd just be a disaster. Yeah, fucking Brandon Stroud in the comments, and I'm like, get out of here. I don't want to hear
whatever happened there.
Yeah, whatever happened there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
on the right side of that history.
Yikes. At Voices Wrestling. Be better.
Be better. Oh, fuck off. See, what you don't understand is I completely eliminated thousands of people right off the rip, and we don't have to worry about
It's
them
true.
anymore.
It's true. That was nice.
Because you want those people hovering around our orbit?
No. Because
you don't
the early
want
days,
those kinds of people.
The early days that we had attempted to reach every person. So it was like, this sect of wrestling fans, we have to try to get to them, and they'll listen to us because we want to grow our listenership. And then very little early on, we realized, wait, hold on a minute.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. No. You don't want to reach. No, there's some people you don't want to reach.
No, we're much
you want to shun them immediately. You just want to siphon them off as quickly as possible. And now we've been blocked by all those people for 10 years, and it's great. Are you kidding me?
Or they've just disappeared. Or they've just disappeared. Whatever happened there too.
Yeah, or exactly.
Certain skeletons in certain closets or whatever it may be. But anyway, there you go. So you'll be watching baseball instead of the Titans of Calamity. Couldn't be me, but there you go. Speaking of baseball, we had a great opening day for our two squadrons, right?
Well, I don't know. Andrew Abbott threw 6 shutout innings, and they faced Garrett Crochet. I can't be mad about 3-0 loss to Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
That guy's great.
Tell me about it. Yeah, it hurts me even more because the White Sox started off with a leadoff home run and then went 6 innings without another hit as they were plummeting to a 14-2 loss. And then I looked and I said, well, how did Joe's Reds do? I went, they lost 2. All right. Who pitched for the Red Sox? Oh, great. Former White Sox, Garrett Crochet. Cy Young runner-up, Garrett Crochet. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
So I got a double dip of like, oh, God. All right, well, clap, get into it.
Well, you know what they say in baseball. You got to dust yourself off and you go get him tomorrow.
Momentum is the next day's starting pitcher who is...
Or you go get them tomorrow, or in this case, because MLB botches opening day every year, you can go get them Saturday because everyone's off on Friday.
Right, for some fucking reason.
Go get them Saturday.
Why is everybody off tomorrow? What are you doing?
Okay, I can explain this to you, and it will make sense when I say it. They are protecting themselves against opening day being rained out, and then you just do opening day the next day.
Yeah, all right. Well.
If you don't have a day off in there, then you lose your opening day weekend revenue. You lose one of the because you're not going to do a doubleheader this early in the season.
Yeah,
so that's the reason.
Great. So Saturday, Momentum is the next day's starting pitcher. Sean Burke is the White Sox next.
Yeah, your best guy went today.
Right. So after that, it's a man named Anthony Kay. Anthony Kay
is a former Mets and Blue Jay prospect who is probably about 29 years old at this point, who's been bouncing around the league. How old is Anthony Kay? I bet you he's 28 or 29 by now.
The name rings a bell. From...
Okay, he's 31.
Oh. All right, well.
So no longer a hot prospect, Anthony Kay, but at one point he was, so... Hey, look, you got Fetty Wap back.
I forgot that Eric Fetty was back after they traded him and he was bad. And they said, all right, well, now we can get you again because you got traded and then you were bad and now you're back. So, yeah, hopefully it's more of the good Fetty that they could trade and not the bad Fetty that they could reacquire. So,
listen, you're one game in.
No, it's fine. I know. I have zero expectations.
Remember last season? You may not remember this. You don't follow as close as I do anymore. The Brewers opened against the Yankees. And I think they lost the 3 games by the Yankees scored 15 runs.
Yeah, they had it was a 40-1. Yeah. The torpedo. Oh God, the torpedo bats, of course. Yeah.
And the Brewers won 97 games. People overreact to Week 1 NFL, and that's 1/17 of the season. This is 1/162th of the season, or whatever that would be. It's baseball, man. You go get him tomorrow. Parentheses Saturday.
I'll be honest, I don't have much faith that my White Sox are gonna.
There's nothing like cracking open a cold one, putting your feet up, opening up the window on a cool summer breeze, and watching a ball game on these magnificent 60-inch 4K TVs we have now. Come on, Rich, get into it. Clap, get into it.
Yeah.
Colson Montgomery.
He's good.
Yes. Kyle Teal when he gets back from his
hurt.
WBC injury.
Of course, one guy got hurt in the WBC.
And it was your guy?
It was a White Sox player. Of course.
Hey.
Of course.
Murakami went deep today.
That's true. Yeah. I do like
Murakami
him.
went deep.
I like him. I like him a lot.
You know, you've got the other Acuna.
Right, the one
center field.
The one that my general manager thinks is a switch hitter, but is not a switch hitter. And he kept saying,
not a switch hitter.
Switch hitter. And everybody had to say, he's not a switch hitter. And then the next day he would say, well, we like Acuna because he could hit from both sides. And then someone had to again say, Chris, Mr. Getz, he is not a switch hitter. So the
player you traded for is not, in fact, a switch hitter.
Because you keep saying he's a switch hitter. Do you know that he is not a switch hitter? We do have to remind you that he's not a switch hitter.
So what do you as a White Sox fan think is worse? If he traded for the wrong guy, or he meant to trade for this guy but thought he was a switch hitter?
The lad, that meant to trade for this guy thinking he was a switch hitter, and then he arrives and he goes, all right, so you can hit from both sides, right? And he goes, no, I'm a righty. Oh, well,
so that's worse than trading for the wrong guy.
Yeah, I think that's worse than trading for the wrong guy. Is like quote unquote doing your intel on this guy, acquiring him, and then it not being what you thought it was is much worse.
He's not the player you thought that he was at all. By the way, he has no options, so he has to be on the roster. No options remaining. For the guy
we got Acuna Jr. You're like, oh, well, not that one.
The other Acuna.
Right.
The other Acuna. Yeah. I guess, Chase Meadroth led off the game with a homer.
Yeah, he did. He sure as hell did.
Things were looking good. And then
things
14 unanswered runs.
Things were looking great.
Yeah. You still have Andrew Benintendi, the highest paid White Sox of all time.
Oh, right. God. Yeah.
Is he really batting cleanup? Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
As you're starting to do some forensics on the White Sox, you're starting to you're like, all right, well, you got MLB TV, and that gives you access to all the teams, so you might as well,
I like your bullpen.
Yeah. Pitching's always been, last year kind of took a dip.
Yeah.
My man Jonathan Cannon fell on some hard times.
Actually, I don't really like your. I'm looking at your
I'm telling you, it's not that good.
I always like Jordan Leisure. I have a soft spot.
Jordan Leisure, yeah, he's good guy.
He's all right. Sir Anthony Dominguez, serviceable closer. Grant Taylor, all the upside in the world. The rest of those guys. Jordan Hicks. Listen.
Oh, fire! Does he still throw 102? Or?
He still throws 102. He's been passed around more than a blunt.
I was going to say that was a long time ago when people cared that he threw 102, but.
I mean, he's been passed around more than like Nancy Sorrentino in the 11th grade, but he's still got that 102 mile per hour fastball, Jordan Hicks. So maybe the White Sox pitcher development can mold him into meeting his potential.
Maybe. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. It's low stakes. You're not going anywhere.
No,
so it's like when you watch a White Sox game, you're not pacing around. You're like,
no, yeah, I don't care. And the thing that I had, and it kind of got me last year as well, is there's a couple of guys on this team that the next time they'll be good, hopefully, they'll be on the team. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be on the team. Now, Murakami will not be because they signed him to like a short-term deal, and if he's good, he'll just go somewhere else and probably be a Dodger or something like that. But, hey, Brooks Baldwin and Colson Montgomery and Chase Meadroth, like those guys they'll be on the team the next time they're good. So.
Yeah.
That's what I'm watching for.
Our boy Prelander Baroa is still recovering from that Tommy John, but he should be back soon.
Oh, my guy. Damn it.
Yeah.
I don't like Prelander.
You know nothing of Prelander Baroa.
Yeah, I do. I liked him a lot. Yeah. I know Prelander Baroa.
All right.
He had a good, last year, or was it, he didn't even play last year at all, right?
No, he had the Tommy John.
Right out of the gates, yeah. Yeah, whatever.
He was the projected closer for a while.
Yes.
Remember?
for even after he had already had Tommy John, I remember like the MLB.com still had him as the closer. And I was like, there has to be another guy. It can't be this guy. He has Tommy John surgery. And they were like, well, we don't know who else to put here. So we're just going to keep Freelander Baroa in here because I think it was closer by committee for a long time.
He wasn't bad in 2024. He pitched to a 3.3 ERA in 17 games.
Yeah.
Over 12 strikeouts per 9.
Look, I got MLB TV for free from T-Mobile, so there are plenty of teams I can watch. So.
Aren't you blacked out on that? How do you watch the White
Sox? Not for White. I'm saying there's plenty of teams I can watch. Oh, you want to watch
the other teams?
Yeah, I can watch all the other teams. So.
Well,
I am indeed blacked out on MLB TV. I have to go to. But I can actually watch the White Sox this year, which is good. Partial last year, I couldn't. Remember, I couldn't watch them because they weren't available in Chicago.
Year,
I can. Yeah.
Now you can. Okay.
Yeah.
You said "can" with that very strong Chicago accent that threw me off. You said "I can," and it sounded like "can't." I can. It sounded like "can't." See, I don't know.
I think we're done here.
We're definitely done here.
We're done. So you can do the show next week, right? Because or when are you jet setting for Dallas?
I will be in Dallas. Let me get out my MLB Ballpark app with my tickets here.
When are you going?
Friday morning. So
okay.
Yes, I can do a show.
All right. You got to be. Can't do that late, can you?
What kind of pussy you think I am?
You're gonna wake up on 3 hours sleep and drive to Arlington, Texas?
I'm all night Lanza. Why would I not be able to do a podcast that ends like before midnight if I'm driving the next day? What's wrong with you?
I guess, yeah, you're probably not getting the kids in the car at 4 a.m. to drive to Arlington. It's like, what, 3 hours?
No, we're going to leave at like 9 or something.
Right. I guess it's only 3 hours away. Yeah. All right.
The game's not till 3. Well,
Well, we'll get you out of there in time then. All right, yeah. You'll probably do a podcast after. You'll probably do a Flagship Plus afterwards or some shit. So.
And then July, let's see. This could all be done not on the show, by the way. July 6th through 12. I'm sure there's an AEW pay-per-view at some point.
Oh, yeah. No. I have to let me finalize my vacation plans, and then Tony will announce a AEW pay-per-view that day. So
there was no AEW pay-per-view when I made these plans. So I'm just letting everybody know now on the record, live on the air, July 6th through 12, I will be in Cincinnati. And then somewhere else in there's going to be, the beach house trip. So I don't know when that's going to be.
Of course, yeah.
And then maybe another baseball trip. Maybe.
Ooh,
we're already over budget.
Look at you.
Already over budget.
Look at you getting a bunch of baseball trips out of these
Can't take the money with you. Can't take the money with
you.
It's true. Can't take it. And with the plantar fasciitis, who knows what's going to happen. So
I don't think that's going to cause.
I feel like I'm going to die.
Is this still bothering you?
No, I'm able to walk now.
Oh, well, that's good. Did you get some new shoes? Did you get new shoes?
I got new shoes.
Okay.
I'm no longer limping, but it still can feel it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, new shoes will help. New shoes will help for sure.
For a week, I could not walk. I had to hop on one foot to the bathroom. Could not walk. Then for a week, I could walk, but I look like Kaiser Soze, like, dragging my foot behind me. And then now this week, I'm not limping anymore, but I can still. It's been like a 3-week process. It's fucking brutal. Rich Craich.
I know. Don't tell me about plantar fasciitis. Well aware, unfortunately.
And then favor in the leg gave me like shin splints.
Yep.
Like then yeah.
Once you get to a certain age, like one thing, now it's like your entire leg for a year is going to be fucked up. Sucks.
A year? You're telling me a year?
No. I just mean like something else. Not the plantar will be okay, but then like your shin splints will hurt, and then like your knee will be kind of weird because you were also walking. It's all just it's a disaster. It sucks.
What a fucking mess. I'm in peak physical condition. How did this happen?
Bad shoes. Too much walking. I know that's a common thing that I'm sure you run into too. Joe, you need to walk less. I know you love walking outside. You need to stop.
Well, I'm always on my feet. That can't help. I'm a weirdo. Like, I eat standing up and I watch games standing up. I should probably sit down now and then.
Yeah, sitting down's for the birds. Nah, you're good. Just get better shoes. Well, I guess you're not wearing shoes in the house, I imagine.
No, I'm never barefoot. Because the first time this happened,
you wear like loafers, or what do you do here?
No, like the slides.
Okay. See, I don't think those are good. I don't think those are good for your planner.
What the fuck am I supposed? What am I supposed to wear? Snow boots? What do you want me to wear?
Moon boots. Yeah, I want you to walk around the house in moon boots. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guess the slides
the
are
tennis
fine.
rackets that the Eskimos wear, like the tennis racket shoes. No, they're big, soft, like Adidas slides with the fucking.
That's probably all right then.
Like spongy ones, you don't know about? Like the foam or whatever. What the fuck you call it?
I don't know if it's foam. Yeah, I know.
Whatever you call it. The rubbery, foamy fucking slides is what I wear around the house. So I figured that'd be sufficient. It's better than just barefoot. I got the hardwood floors here.
Can't go barefoot. The planner, I told you the thing you cannot do. Listen here, everybody. Never, if you got plantar fasciitis, never go barefoot because every time you put your feet back on that floor, it tears it all up again. Start from day one. So
you can't go to a doctor and have them just inject something to get rid of it. Like
you probably could. Yeah, I think you can do that probably.
Why the fuck didn't I do that 2 weeks ago?
Well, that's extreme measures. I don't think you need to go that level.
You're telling me, roll a frozen water bottle under your foot.
I said no. I said a baseball. I said a baseball or a softball.
Yeah, when I could have just went to a doctor and they give me like a cortisone shot or something.
Or stand on a Shakti mat if you really want to get things going.
Shakti mat?
Yeah, I think I sent you a link to a Shakti mat.
Shakti?
Yeah.
2 in the pink, 1 in the stink.
Enough about Clark Connors. All right, I think we're done here for this episode. Yeah, we have been very done. This episode's cooked, as the kids say.
I got fantasy baseball teams to manage.
Okay, get over there. Yeah, you got. Well, there's no games tomorrow. You don't have to worry about it. What do you got to manage?
Well, there's like 6 games tomorrow. There's 8 games, I think, tomorrow, but the teams who played today aren't playing tomorrow. Yeah, it's all fucked up. Yeah, but I still got to set lineups.
Oh, because it's like secondary opening day for the other half of the league. That's right.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, I got to do my annual trip to the White Sox games. I go to. I never go to opening day, but I go to the day after because it's always like opening day tickets or whatever, and it's sold out. And then like day 2, nobody.
You're
fucking
telling
goes.
me, bud, I'm going to Rangers opening day, and if I told you how much those tickets were, you'd fucking choke. Okay, oof is right.
Oof.
And believe me, I'm not going to be able to eavesdrop conversations between the first baseman and a guy who just
You're going to be up in the
okay. Believe me.
Gonna be up there, up in the high.
Why'd they have to come in for the fucking home opener?
That's perfect.
Why couldn't they come in like the middle of fucking June?
Well, anytime you can get the home opener of the Rangers to be their lifelong rivals, the Cincinnati Reds, you just got to do it. Yeah,
exactly.
What happened to our league? What is this fucking baseball?
Dumb.
The Texas Rangers start the season with the Cincinnati Reds. What are we doing here?
Utterly ridiculous. How is it not like the Astros or something?
Yeah. Stupid. Anyway, all right, that's it for us. That is Joe Lanza. I'm Rich Craich. This has been the Flagship Podcast. Obviously, flagshippatreon.com for all of our bonus audio. Hey, we did a subscriber. Great time to plug the subscriber exclusive Flagship, guys. Nice job. Do it 3 hours and 14 minutes in the show. We did a Flagship yesterday covering CMLL. What the hell else did we cover on that show? We covered CMLL. I'm now looking feverishly at it was yesterday, Rich. How do you not remember what the fuck we talked about yesterday on the Flagship?
I don't remember either. What the hell did we talk about?
The whole 2-hour show yesterday.
And CMLL was like 5 minutes of it, and that's
we didn't talk that much CMLL either. We talked about 0-1. We talked about CMLL's latest Friday night show, 0-1, Kazuguchi's retirement, Tony Khan's bid to buy WWE, and a lot more. So that was on the subscriber exclusive Flagship that we all remember so well. So that is available exclusively on the $10 tier at flagshippatreon.com. So the live listeners listen to this. If you do not, you get a bonus Flagship. If you want to, it is ready to go. But if you are not on that $10 tier and you want to listen to us recap and review CMLL 0-1, Kazuguchi's retirement, Tony Khan's bid to buy WWE, and all that, that is available on the $10 tier, flagshippatreon.com. All right. That is it for us. That is Joe. I'm Rich. Talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.
Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.
If you're a podcast host, listen up. This one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle. And I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial. If you're a podcast host, listen up. This one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle. And I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.